go. So I'm going to be part of Maxine's official fan club.
Yeah, incredible.
To kick this lively episode off, I have a new addition to the collection of, the classic, the Opera Plaza baseball card.
Yeah,
Have the Furiosa
IMAX card.
IMAX card. Keeping these in my wallet.
Wonderful.
These are prized possessions now. Welcome back. I feel like this is the first time we're being actually very prompt about our schedule. That we're on the upswing now. This is the
Yeah,
time,
this is joy, pure joy.
the
And
Phoenix's rebirth.
we joined Maxine's fan club. You have Anya Taylor-Joy in your wallet now.
Life is great.
Life is
I
fantastic.
like that the Tony Stark gif where he's just like, or the Dune or Baron Harkonnen. That same someone like sandwiched them together.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
the exact same, Reddit Chungus moment.
Oh, I forgot about Chungus.
Warner Brothers just actually trademarked Big Chungus.
They got because didn't they put him in a video game?
Yeah, he was in that like Looney Tunes, the Idol RPG or whatever, but um they're speculating he'll probably be in multiverses at some point. And I mean he was in Space Jam. He was in Space Jam 2 for like a minute. But
You know what was so weird is that like Warner Brothers really didn't think Space Jam 2 through, respectfully, because they had the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange. That's not a movie for kids.
no.
What kids watching Space Jam 2 and they're like, that's Alex Delarge. I don't know how to say his name. I don't think they ever say it fully. I read the book and I watched the movie, but that's Alex Delagre and that's the Droogs. Like, and also they probably shouldn't know that because they shouldn't go look into that.
Exactly. Like they had like the Game of Thrones people there too or something. Like
Morpheus was there from someone dressed as Morpheus or Mr. Smith or something like that.
I feel like Space Jam 2 was like the foray into multiverses, like just tapping into like, hey, how ridiculous can we get?
I'll admit, I don't know if I was excited, but I waited until they announced it. I ordered some fettuccine alfredo from a pizza place over here. I sat down and I watched that whole thing from back to front to back. Immediately after, I had the most existential crisis of my life. Just like, what am I doing with my time?
It was not I can't say it was like I mean, it wasn't a miserable viewing experience. It was just confusing. I was consistently confused. I will say the one thing that genuinely made me laugh was the Michael B. Jordan bit. The Michael
That
B. Jordan
was,
joke was actually funny, and I appreciate how well thought out it was.
yeah.
Um, Other than that, like you could just tell, like obviously, yeah, the main market was definitely kids for that movie, which is fine if they enjoy it, whatever. But it's
Did
not
kids
like
know that?
I don't even know. Like it feels like a very confusing movie for a child.
I don't think maybe like a couple kids that are really into basketball. They're
Maybe.
like, oh, LeBron, he's with some random old cartoon characters because Looney Tunes aren't really like.
I feel like Looney Tunes definitely taps into more like millennial, like maybe like the generation after millennial. Like there's a new Looney Tunes movie coming out that it's hand drawn, 2D animated, looks really cool.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
but it's not like the first Space Jam was genuinely good. There's some nostalgia around it just because of Michael Jordan. And I think in the
I
song, like that's about it. I don't think anyone remembers Space Jam for Space Jam.
I don't know if campy is the right word, but there's a certain like I'm gonna just like label it as like there's a certain goofiness to the original Space Jam that makes it like real fun to watch. Like it's
There's a
just
charm.
the wackiest charm, wackiest fucking like. How did that get made in the first place, and that why is it so beloved? We don't know because that if that did it did come out today, like this time, no one
No one
no
really
one was down for it. No one was fucking with it
and
whatsoever.
and it's no one really cared in general. Like they didn't need to do another Space Jam, and they definitely didn't need to put LeBron in it. I think that was just the worst decision they could have made. I don't know. It just felt I don't know what they were going for. It felt very like, hey, kids like phones, right? And video games, right? And Clockwork Orange. So let's just put everything together into one mysterious package that somehow they will understand. And they just, hope for the best, and it just didn't work. But yeah, I know some people that are Space Jam diehards for the first one, and I'm like, good for you. It's okay.
I know my siblings are huge Space Jam. We're spending too much time on Space Jam, actually. I think I'm going to divert
Yeah.
us away from that because I don't.
Straight
I
into
know
Looney Tunes back in action. Great film.
that is true. This is Joe Dante too, isn't it?
Yep.
Joe
I,
Dante directed Gremlins and then Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Brendan Fraser. Great movie. I feel like
I have,
that's like the only one that really counts. So like the live action Looney Tunes.
I have a wonderful memory of watching that for the first time. I was like 8, maybe. I went to a friend's house. It was on ABC Family.
Nice.
We just came inside from like playing. He gave me like a cinnamon donut, like one of the Entenmann cinnamon donuts, and we turned it on and I watched it. It was the most joy I felt as a kid.
Nice.
I'm confident. It was just wholesome, fun, little Brendan Fraser, little cinnamon donut. Loved it.
And yearn for times like that.
So much simpler.
But yeah, we are talking about Space Jam and Looney Tunes too much. I feel like maybe we should divert.
I
Uh
feel like the natural progression should have been maybe talking about Maxine because we just
True.
talked about the fan
All
club.
because it's all because I said Chungus, which is actually going to be very important moving forward. Chungus, Reddit Chungus is going to be very important for this topic of conversation. Um,
Scared and excited.
so yeah, Maxine. Uh, interesting slate we have coming up. What we discussed, what we wanted to talk about was, the idea of summer blockbusters. Yeah, I feel like I was talking to someone about this the other day that last summer was truly lightning in a bottle
Yeah.
at the movie theater. And I don't think anyone is quite trying to recreate what happened last summer, but I think people took that for granted in the sense that, oh my God, movie theaters are back, right? We have our summer back. No, that was a once in a lifetime historical event. This year we're gonna have one movie that carries the box office, and which has been the same thing for like the past 5 or 6 years. There's like one massive movie that comes out in the summer, carries for the next like 2 months, and then, I mean, even last year we had that June, July locked with Barbenheimer, but
Yeah.
then August just straight down the drain.
But also what was interesting is that July was pretty packed too because we got Dial of Destiny and we got
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. This July we have Deadpool and Wolverine.
Exactly. And
And
that June just sucked.
uh what am I gonna say? Um I think the other thing is that like that was a lot of the pandemic holdbacks.
Hmm.
I think theoretically if they kind of like maybe not like stored up because that would be horrendous. Like theaters could
Yeah.
die by the time they have enough like good hit movies to put out during the summer. But theaters or everybody they just kind of dropped every movie that they had and they tried like they had to compete really hard.
Mhm.
So I was talking to a friend and he was like, there needs to be more incentive to going to a theater. And I was like, well, what like big incentive? Like you want them to hand you like $100 bill when you walk in to like check it for checking it out before it's on streaming? Like which obviously like that's a joke. That would be nice, but that was like hyperbole. Or do you want like a poster? And he was like, last year, every single movie I saw, I had a pin, a poster, or some free something. Every time I've gone this year, it's not even like if they have something, it's not available because somebody already took a whole stack of them.
Yeah. Or you have to buy it.
Exactly. Like Inside Out 2, I was really, if you want like that special thing that they have, you have to go today for AMC. You have to go today at 2:15 in the afternoon. One showing in Dolby.
That's weird.
Otherwise, you have to pay $30 for a bucket that looks like a yellow sphere with a cup inside of it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
The Regal bucket was just the anger head.
Oh, really? That looked cool, actually. I know what you're talking about. I saw that. That looked really cool.
But I think it was the same thing. You could only get it during like the first week. So they're like really pushing, hey, come to the theater to see Inside Out, which, mind you, Inside Out is our first big hit of the summer. Uh,
Yeah, that was yeah.
biggest opening of the year. I think it's
It was
68.
like, projected for like 90 million, ended up doing 120, 130.
Yeah. 60 on opening previews, which I know that what was impressive about Dune is that it had a fairly slow start, but it wasn't like a drag out the gate like Furiosa was. Like I think it was Dune was just kind of steadily going up and up because people kept rewatching it and they kept getting excited about it and word of mouth. I think that's what sucked about Furiosa was that there was no word of mouth. And even though there was, people just weren't interested in seeing it, which is highly unfortunate. It sucks, but you think about general audiences, like film Twitter is its own bubble, right? The film
Yeah,
community, Letterboxd, its own bubble. And they say, "Oh, I'm not excited for Deadpool and Wolverine." I guarantee you, I can place bets right now. I'm gonna see all these tweets or letterbox reviews that on the Wednesday or Thursday night previews, they're gonna be the first showing, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, my little brother dragged me to see Deadpool and Wolverine in 4DX IMAX opening night. I got the popcorn bucket and the T-shirt and the poster. Yeah, really didn't want to be here." And it's
we
like, no,
played the claw machine to get the little pockets together. I didn't want to, but he
yeah,
did. But I I'm starting to grow like a small disdain for certain letterbox people I follow on Letterbox will remain anonymous because I don't want ops on Letterbox. This seems like a really
yeah. Letterbox ops. That's
if I, if
like
I beef with people on Letterbox, I think I need to rethink like how much time I'm spending on the internet.
dropping
But
your IP address on Letterbox.
could you imagine getting doxxed for a movie review?
It's like your review of Come and See, and it's just like your IP on the comments.
I There's a lot of people on there where it's like they will go to the theater to see everything,
Hmm.
complain about how bad everything is, and it's like you have given that movie money. Even if like A-list, which is so popular, that's counted towards the box office.
Yeah.
So theoretically, every movie that you want to shit on and you don't think it's a bad idea because it's like, oh, A-list is free. Your dumb ass is this movie that you weren't even excited for in the first place is still like supporting it.
Yeah.
You're still giving it money and you're still going and giving it your time. Also, if you hate everything, why is this your hobby?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I will tell one story quickly, not to hijack the subject. I did a review for I think All the President's Men, where it was just a quote, and I got a random person liked it, and I was like, oh, cool, like I'll see who it is, like maybe I'll follow them. Their bio scared me. I don't know if I talked about this or not, but their bio terrified me.
No.
They wrote about that small novella about how like now my first favorite director was Tarantino, obviously a pretty normie pick, and then they like worked all the way to they were like Christopher Nolan, um, Kubrick, and then William Friedkin, and then they were like, no, Friedkin's a pretty underground director. It's like all you have to put in your bio is something funny. That is the one spot where it's completely fine to not be analytical, and also, how do you enjoy anything that way?
I was talking to someone the other night about Letterbox because it was the first time in the wild that someone has been like, "Do you have Letterbox?" And I was like, "No way." So I was chilling, just talking to people, and we were talking about movies, and they're like, "I hate to ask this question, but do you guys have Letterbox?" And we laughed about it. We started looking at each other's Letterbox and exchanging. And I saw his top four, and I forget what he had in his top four, but it was like incredibly based. Like I was really impressed. And it
Yeah,
wasn't even like a very random poll. Like it wasn't an obscure movie. It was just a movie that I know people never have in their top four. So I was like, that's pretty cool. Good for you. And
yeah.
then he showed me this guy's profile that like has been liking and commenting on every one of his reviews. He's like, I don't understand this guy. Because in his bio, he had like this exquisitely prepared like rating system with a different font for each star
Oh,
rating. Like 5 stars means this, and then my top four cycles because I put my top four in the month. I'm like, that's cool if you care about it that much. I'm not taking that away from you. But I have never once used Letterboxd in a highly analytical way. And
that's
I
that's not
really
what
don't think you should. And I see people complain about the Letterbox reviewers and saying, "Oh, all these people in Letterbox doing funny reviews and getting 20K likes." I'm like, if you're looking at Letterboxd for genuine film criticism, that is the first problem.
But yeah, no,
There
that
are
is.
fun creators on TikTok that do video reviews that they're funny themselves. Like, I don't know if you follow Kit Laser, but he is probably my favorite right now because he's just so straight to the point, down to earth, and he just recaps every month or every week. But he's also pretty funny. And his letterbox is where he, or like Carson Rehnquist, he like puts his funny reviews on his letterbox and then his genuine review on a different form of media. I don't really see a problem with it. Is it annoying? Yes, it is annoying because I don't think a silly, like Furiosa, oh God, what was the one as like the top review? It says, God forbid you interfere with someone shaving their head or something like that.
Uh,
And it got like 20K likes. And I'm like, it wasn't that funny, but good for you. Good for you.
I think there's a bit. I really hate to say this. I think it's a bit political too, though, because there's some people that have enough followers.
Yeah.
I've known this person because it's always like the same few people. I can't think of the names, but there's one person where it's like the profile picture is some early 2000s movie with like the red sunglasses and they're like
Oh
poking.
yeah, Letterbox Lucy.
Yep. Uh, Carson Runquist always being like at the
Yeah.
top.
Brad Pitt,
Yeah.
which she's now, or they, I don't know their pronouns, but Brad Pitt is now a actual like editor for Letterboxd.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Lucy is not. I think Lucy was one of the first patrons. Um, like ground floor, Lucy was like one of the first Letterboxd like celebrities. And
Yeah.
some of the reviews are kind of funny, and I actually do like some of their input on some movies, but sometimes I just look at the reviews and I'm like, I don't think you got the movie, man.
That's kind of the same as like having to make a TikTok every day to stay relevant. I feel like sometimes everybody like Lucy's thing. Also, this isn't just a shit on Lucy. Like so, like
No.
you said, some of them are really funny, and also like that's uncharted territory to be a letterbox celebrity because I remember like in 2017, like I don't even think they had an app yet. You had to like log on to the browser and like manually insert everything that you wanted to do.
Yeah,
But there are some times where it's like you could see it struggling. They're struggling to put a joke out.
yeah.
They're like maybe I don't even have thoughts on this, but if I just leave it blank, like I'm gonna lose like 100 followers, and I don't
Yeah.
know if I can do that right now.
Lucy had a great review for, I believe it was Mikey and Nikki, and it was cool because it was like a deviation. It wasn't a joke. It was like a genuine kind of analysis of something. I forget if she was talking about the screenplay or the direction, but it was just one particular aspect of the film that I had connected with. So I read the review and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Thank you for putting that out there. And also, the rating of the film was fair and just. And then there's just some that I'm just very confused by because I'm like, either I can't tell if you liked the movie, disliked the movie, because you gave it like a 3.5 or a 4, and you
Yeah.
said some like snarky comment. I don't know. So yeah, Letterbox, it's good enough. It's fine. But yeah, I have my gripes.
Well, I feel like we could do a whole episode on Letterboxd, honestly.
We really could. But we brought up Letterbox because of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I think like I'm gonna see that movie.
Oh, same.
I'm one of my friends who's a huge like underground cinema fan, literally sitting next to me, booked his tickets for opening night of Deadpool and Wolverine IMAX. Like people are genuinely excited for this. But also, I saw a weird reaction on Twitter when the projection came out for a 265 million opening, right?
Yeah.
Which that's kind of crazy for Marvel in the sense of we haven't had that big of an opening in a while since I would
Oh,
say like No Way Home. And I think the general reaction was like, "Dear God, no." Or why are like why like I saw someone say, oh, I'm gonna kill myself because it's a 265 million opening, right? And I'm looking at the whole thing and I'm like, why wouldn't it make 200? Like
yeah.
Hugh Jackman alone is setting this at a bare minimum baseline 5 to 600 million run. Okay, that is baseline. We could have close to $1 billion movie.
I think it,
He's worth
uh,
that much.
I no, I agree with that. I think the other thing that's really confusing too is that online consensus when those first set photos dropped, and it was the two of them, stellar. Not
Yeah.
a single negative thing about it. People were stoked. We've been waiting for this. Even the little nerd in me was like, "Oh, holy shit! Like there it is.
Yeah.
There they are on screen together, at least on set together." I'd say maybe halfway through last summer, that just like shifted completely.
I think it was the first
After,
trailer.
you think so?
I think it was the first trailer because that was when people like fully got a grasp of how the film looked.
Yeah, that's
And it
yeah,
just looked so like gray and just bland and bleak and for no reason. Like the first Deadpool has a look. It has that bleak, grungy look. And
yeah.
I like how the first one looks. Two was the first one that I felt started to look really bland.
It looked very. They took a bit of the grunginess away.
Hmm. But left
That
it
that's
washed
always been
out.
my yeah, that's always been my biggest gripe with that is that they made it very plain and very bland so that they could make more money than the first one.
Yeah, and well, two was just overall very rushed.
Yeah, that too was.
It was a mess.
I could sit here and I don't even know fully how I feel about two anymore. I could sit here and dissect and analyze everything. Just
Yeah.
it's it's just a movie, and I remember even being 18 and like Marvel can do no wrong. There's nothing bad that they could put. That was the first one where I was very objectively
Eh,
like I walked out and I saw with my brother and sister-in-law and they were like, "Oh, that's so funny, better than the first one, so much cool action." I was like, "Was it really that funny?"
yeah.
And my sister-in-law literally said something about like all the references and the jokes, and I was like, "Those weren't jokes. They just wanted to let us know that they're allowed to talk about other IP."
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me nervous about this because I don't know, like I said, opening night, but I'm a little nervous because I think the thing that could kind of ruin it is them just like taking almost 15 years of the MCU and just
Yeah.
every single joke that has been made online already, running its course over 2.5 hours when it could be also I don't
Reddit Chungus epic poggers moment, man. That's what this movie's gonna be. No, I think there's a general sense of jadedness, if that's even a word, I'm
know.
feeling online. And I know this because I find myself like falling into this trap that I know I'm gonna go see this movie, and at the baseline, I'm probably going to enjoy it. I'm probably going to enjoy most of it. I'm also probably going to be annoyed by most of it. But
Yeah.
the only reason why is because of how big of a fan of the first one and the general, excuse me, the general IP I am. And someone, Stoobs on TikTok, she did a really interesting deep dive into the marketing and how the general consensus, like backlash to the marketing from general, I would say film Twitter and TikTok, is this marketing is homophobic, saying the whole marketing campaign is Deadpool and Wolverine, acting like a couple, or Deadpool trying to like romanticize
Oh,
Wolverine, right?
yeah.
Joke is, haha, it's funny because they're gay, right? Haha, it's funny because they're not gay, but they're gay. But the thing is, anyone who has any familiarity with Deadpool knows one, he's pansexual, and
Yeah.
two, he does this shit to annoy everybody. I mean, he romanticizes Peter Parker, Wolverine, I mean, everybody. He literally does not discriminate. Like everyone he's around, he will try to make uncomfortable. And this is pre-video game. Like I know the video game did a lot of damage for Deadpool's image, in my opinion. And Rob Liefeld took it and ran with it and made Deadpool, in my opinion, kind of ruin the characterization. He's a genuinely great character because he does things that no other character is allowed to do. And I'm not talking about the fourth wall breaks.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it. I'm talking about literal commentary over actions that they're doing or their character. Like he challenges Peter Parker as a character. And yeah,
Yeah.
he pokes fun at him and he makes him uncomfortable and he, tries to kiss him or whatever. Like, but that's Deadpool. That's the character. And the first movie nailed it. The first movie really got that down because the first one is a love story and it's a revenge movie and it's so focused. But the whole movie, he's like poking fun at Ajax and the name, but he's also like flirting with him. And it's like, it's genuinely like Dopinder, he calls him Sugar Bear and everything.
Yeah.
It's genuinely funny because it feels innocent and harmless. And I haven't been bothered by the marketing for Deadpool and Wolverine that much. Some of the posters are kind of but like I kind of think it's fun. And yeah, the joke is that Wolverine is this big tough dude that like would hate Deadpool. So I think they're playing into that very well. And I think the general jadedness comes from like trying to find anything you can complain about.
I also I saw a tweet where it was just like, oh, like flirting versus harassment, and it was the
Mhm.
Deadpool poster compared to I can't even remember what it was compared to. I just remember like being so confused about like harassment.
I think it was the, oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. It wasn't Hitman. It was, oh, Venom.
Oh yeah, yeah. But then God, we love Venom.
Yeah.
Which like I guess is true, but at the same time, like they kind of have a similar enough like relationship and story. The only difference is that like they're pre-bonded and like they
Yeah.
actually like being together. Fucking around is Deadpool's thing. Like
Yeah.
exactly like you said. Just to kind of like wrap up, like that's his thing. That's always been his thing. Even in like I remember being sick one time watching Ultimate Spider-Man, that really bad Disney XD one. There's an episode with Deadpool in it, and they tone it down obviously for a kid show, but like the entire time it's him and Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and it's just like he's acting like they have been the best of friends
Hmm.
forever,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like that's just like yeah, the PG version isn't like making innuendos and dick jokes to Spider-Man's face, but he's like they even nail it down to a point where I think that the entire episode they're looking for a villain named MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Deadpool's goal is to go beat this villain MacGuffin, and then there was no MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Deadpool very much, and I think the first one is getting thrown into this acid vat for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I think the first one has genuine charm to it. The second one is when I start to feel that it kind of feels like, baby's first R-rated movie, right? Like the R-ratedness kind of comes from let's just cram in as much, kind of crude humor we can. And the first one that feels like there's some nuance to it. It is kind of explosive in the way it presents it because it almost has to go too far in
Yeah,
order to set a tone and set the audience up for what their goal is, which their goal is to stray so far from the norm of what the genre was giving us that to almost shock you so much into liking it, which it works. Literally in the first 20 minutes, there is a whole sex montage that covers the seasons of the year and the
yeah.
holidays. And it is so funny because of just how like awkward it's presented. And then they tie it together perfectly with the Happy Lent bit, which is just the absolute funniest thing.
They even tied it into the marketing because he's reading like Mario Lopez's
Hmm.
book or memorial book or something like that.
Yeah.
They thought everything through so deeply, and they went 100%. Also, because nobody cared.
Yeah.
I remember people like wondering, like, "Oh, is this gonna bomb? Is this gonna bomb?" I was like, "No,
Yeah.
no, it's not gonna bomb because the
The
second
first
that it,
the first major R-rated comic book movie post MCU
yeah,
with Ryan Reynolds, who is on a major redemption arc, and the marketing was insane. I remember Deadpool was everywhere, but it was tied in perfectly. Like, they didn't do toys and stuff for the movie, but they did like Mike's Hard Lemonade with Deadpool on it, right? Like it was all adult themed marketing. You go to Spencer's and you buy something, you get a Deadpool poster. And, even the poster itself, the first Deadpool poster was the one with the gun and it looks like his crotch and it says, wait till you get a load of me, right? Like they've been doing this since the beginning. And I feel like this idea that, oh, they're just trying to capitalize on something cringe and some Reddit humor
yeah,
and put it on movie posters to sell tickets. I'm like, no, one, they've been doing this since the first movie. Maybe it's a bit just ham-fisted now,
yeah,
and maybe it's a little annoying. That first poster for Deadpool and Wolverine, I thought was genuinely charming, where it's like the necklace and
yeah,
it's come together. Like I thought that was funny, it's fun, and it fits in line with the prior movies posters.
yeah,
I really don't see anything wrong with it. I think we should be talking about what is genuinely wrong with the movie, which is one, how it looks, two, that weird tweet that was circulating about every like rumored cameo in the movie. I don't know if you saw that.
No, but
It's it's just too much, man. Like I understand rumors are rumors, like the Multiverse of Madness ones, but this is just too much.
the thing that really got me is that apparently they're going to jump into the wrong multiverse and meet Ben Affleck's Batman, and I was like, you just,
I think I might actually like walk out of the theater if I see Ben Affleck as Batman.
I don't know. I don't want to be jaded. I don't want to over critique it, but I also think for me personally, somewhere around two after I had that realization, I just kind of like fell off Deadpool completely. Like
Mhm.
I don't think the first one's a bad movie, but I have this like strange feeling where it's like when this was brand new, when I was 16, when nobody was giving this character attention, the first movie and all the success it had, wonderful.
Yeah.
Perfect. It was a moment. It has become, and I know I've said this before, especially on the pod, it's become so oversaturated and so changed from what it was originally that it just annoys me.
Hmm.
'Cause I remember when like I was deep into collecting physical media, like I was going like every week, getting every new release, whether I liked it or not. They dropped all those Deadpool covers
The
for other toys.
covers, yeah.
I don't even think that was to promote anything. And it was annoying because like I remember going into Walmart to get something else, and literally half of like I had to ask them to go to the back to get it because the entire thing was just these Deadpool slipcovers.
Hmm.
It was the most annoying thing. I think it might have been Bad Times at the El Royale,
Oh wow.
so it was like a while ago. But like it was just so annoying, and I think at that point I was just like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like this is too much. It was something because they also like did that thing where it was the billboard to market it as like a Ryan Reynolds rom com,
Yeah.
so that people would show up and be confused and like the trickery and stuff like that. They don't need to do that anymore.
No. Like
If,
School Bell.
if anything, I think giving him a break was great, but also unfortunately that's kind of the only thing Ryan Reynolds that's the biggest role that he's ever had, and unfortunately I think that's the biggest role he's ever gonna have.
I'm gonna plug Stoobs again because in that same video she brought up Sean Levy. And I
Yeah,
think this is another thing I'm genuinely worried about the movie. The first movie had such a just a vicious tone to it. And it felt like there was intent behind it. And I think this was the problem with the second one. And this is not literally nothing against it. It was David Leitch who directed number two, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nothing against David Leitch. I do think that like I want to see The Fall Guy. I did really enjoy Bullet Train. There, I just don't think he was right for Deadpool. And Deadpool really needs that really gritty, aggressive tone to it. And there's something that really works about Deadpool 1 feels genuine in how it presents even the violence
yeah,
because a lot of it, for as you know, R-rated as that movie is, a lot of the violence either is implied, like that whole montage when he's hunting down the guys and he's like upgrading his suit the whole time. It's genuinely fun. It's a great montage. They even got the guys who did the original Deadpool rap to do a new song. Like
yeah,
it felt almost I gotta bring it up again. It felt like Five Nights at Freddy's. You needed to be like a genuine fan to really understand what was going on,
yeah,
but it didn't alienate those who weren't fans or who weren't familiar with Deadpool. It kind of brought you in along for the ride and said, "Hey, let's have some fun. Let's relax. Let's drop your baggage off at the door and you're going to see something that you've never seen before." I think Deadpool 2 being as rushed as it was and as much of a mess because the initial director walked they had creator differences with Ryan Reynolds between 1
yeah.
and 2.
It was Tim Miller, right?
Tim Miller, yeah, Tim Miller and Ryan Reynolds split, and I remember it was because of the merger, the Fox merger,
Yeah,
and Ryan Reynolds had all these ideas. They were on board with Cable,
mhm,
but they couldn't understand how to bring Cable on board. And I believe Tim Miller wanted Cable to be like a hero and Deadpool to be the villain, like to switch the roles and basically have Cable like go through time
yeah,
and basically like kill Deadpool a bunch of times. I don't remember. I remember like reading an initial beat sheet for it. But they split. David Leitch came on board and Deadpool 2 happened. it's okay. Like we said, it's fine. There's nothing inherently terrible about it. It has a really good emotional heartbeat, I think, like the whole thing with him and Vanessa and like how he wants to kill himself, but he can't die. It's kind of a fun thing to play with for the character,
Yeah.
but
I will say they did fridge Vanessa.
they
Um,
did. I think the
yeah.
way she dies is really weird.
And they also like tried to like be self-aware about it, but that didn't stop the fact that like they didn't know what to do with her, so they just like killed her.
Yeah. Which is weird because in the comics she's copycat, which I thought in the first movie she was gonna like get powers or something from Ajax's tests or whatever, and whatever. But I just think two
I
was
think
was a bit of a missed opportunity.
the best way to kind of, I guess, wrap up Deadpool talk to because there's a bit of a tangent on both parts because I don't know about you, but I've got like a weird amount to say about Deadpool for some reason.
Same.
I don't really think about it anymore, but the best joke in Deadpool 2 is not even in the movie. It's that when you go to Disney Plus to watch Deadpool 2, the description for the movie, the only description for the movie is the sequel to the first one.
Yep.
That is the best joke. That is the highlight of the film, and that is my favorite part of it.
I also do like the post credits where he kills Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that
I
is good.
do, and then he kills the Origins Deadpool. I think that is actually really funny.
Uh, um, I know in the Super Duper cut, he goes back and kills Baby Hitler too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He like goes to kill Hitler and he like has a hard time because it's like a baby.
Yeah, and so he's like, but like he's still doing it. Like he's
Yeah.
doing it efficiently, but he's just like, I don't,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I need to watch the extended cut again. Yeah, to wrap up Deadpool, I think Sean Levy, I'm worried he's not the pick. I know they had
yeah.
a good relationship. I didn't like the Adam Project. I'm very iffy on Free Guy. I think Free Guy is one of the most annoying movies ever made. Great. There's some greatness there. There's some good stuff in Free Guy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried it'll be a mess, but it's gonna carry us through the summer, which is actually kind of good news because theaters are gonna stay open. Which may mean we have a good fall.
It's gonna do it.
Is it gonna do the thing?
I mean, fireworks, I don't think, because we're recording.
Oh, there we
Oh, there we
go.
go. Yeah, this is
Thank you, Deadpool.
theater's opening. Ted Sarandos,
Boo.
David Zaslav. These are
Boo.
there we go. Yeah, we're good. Okay,
Oh, he's in the
stop.
storm. Twister.
Twisters comes out in July. Twisters comes out in July. That was perfect.
Come see Twisters in July. Definitely not sponsored. Um,
We should get them too.
we should get sponsored by Twisters. Maybe like Haley could do an effect of us like getting caught up in a show. It's like the phone effect, the like J.J. Abrams app.
Oh yeah,
The missile comes crashing down on us. Can you do that, Kaylee, actually? Can you like bring the missile green screen thing in?
our Twister sponsorship will email Universal, I think.
Yeah. And then just like have the tornado come in. Um, yeah, so we're gonna be carried through the summer, which is nice. And we'll have a pretty good fall. I think we have a really good lineup in the fall, which we can talk about at a different time. I think we kind of already talked about it in season 0 when we mentioned like our most anticipated.
More stuff has come out though about that and what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
Yeah,
think like we have Long Legs coming out. Is that in July?
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
Long Legs is July, and Cuckoo. So oddly enough, two of my personal
Yeah.
anticipated horror movies are coming out in the fall. They're coming out closer to the summer,
And
and
I
there's some.
think like the late summer is going to be really cool for people for like genre heads. I
Yeah,
think we have very diverse stuff happening. I think summer is really rough this year, and Twisters to me feels like the ultimate summer movie this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's how someone describe it, like the perfect movie to like drink a root beer at, right? Like you just go and you just turn your brain off for a minute.
Root beer, no! Root beer! No! Root beer, no! Someone's root beer, no!
But I'm genuinely excited for it. I feel like there's some merit there with Lee Isaac Chung directing. I think Glenn Powell is just a vehicle in and of himself. I think he's fun to watch, and I love Daisy Edgar Jones. So like,
I can't see anything bad about Twisters minus the fact that like it just is not winning Oscars. Like it's not that type of
Exactly.
movie, but it doesn't need to be, and I'm stoked about that.
And
It's
I
also
love it. It's the original one.
didn't it come out that it's being shot on film?
Yeah, the whole thing was shot on film. I think Panaflex.
Insane. Why they didn't need to do that, but he
No,
did.
he just you know what? They just decided let's just do that, which is cool because it's funny. I actually hate the second trailer for that movie, like the one that they show at the theaters now. The teaser
Yeah.
was really cool and it had the letters that spelled Twisters. It felt like a thriller. It felt like an action thriller. And then the second trailer just felt like a generic action movie, and I didn't like it, but whatever. I digress. That's marketing. They can figure it out. And I love the poster discourse when it was like, look behind you, dummies, the twister's behind you. And then you look in the rearview mirror and there's a twister in front of them too.
I I don't know, man. I know it's not going to carry anything. I know that unfortunately there's a chance that it bombs.
Mhm.
We don't know because look at what just happened with Furiosa. Um,
Don't underestimate Glenn Powell though.
I can't because speaking of, we didn't get to talk about Paddington, but I'm gonna segue a bit into the main
Yeah.
topic of summer blockbusters, which is what this whole episode's kind of about. Um, that man should be so lucky that Top Gun Maverick did as well as it did,
Yeah.
and that they did not display his character as more of an asshole, an irredeemable asshole.
Yeah.
Because had they, he is getting more work than Miles Teller now. I
That's
would,
crazy.
I
That's
would argue
yeah, no, I haven't seen Miles Teller since Top Gun Maverick.
wild. Uh, Something that I keep thinking about this year is I'm very curious if we're going to have a Top Gun Maverick. If anything that's coming out is going to shock the shit out of everybody and just make like obscene, insane amounts because word of mouth and people just like dying for it but not being vocal about it. I'd say like to a much lesser extent, maybe Inside Out 2 already is kind of getting that type of.
I think Inside Out 2, it's a mixed bag, and I think there's a lot of controversy about the movie already. I remember there was a big call for a boycott for the Disney releases this year just because of everything politically happening right now, but also because of the whole Bill Hader Mindy Kaling situation. I don't know if you read about that. They're not in the movie,
Oh, the paper.
and they offered them, I think, $100,000 to return for their roles.
I never saw the
And
numbers, but
Amy
that's
Poehler was, I think, offered 5 million to return. Yeah,
no, no, that's ridiculous.
which is
That's
crazy because objectively, Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling are at a bigger status right now than Amy Poehler.
or even Phyllis Smith for Sadness,
Yeah.
which like I guess I understand because like those were the main two for Inside Out 1.
Hmm.
I'm not sure who's really leading the charge, but at the same time, like, well, I guess it's because they had to pay Iowa Debris, they had to pay Maya Hawke, and I'm sure that they
It's
have
Disney, man.
rankings.
Ugh. You can't pay Bill Hader. Like, I understand it's not your lead role, but you couldn't offer an Emmy nominee, multiple time Emmy nominee, auteur, like multi-million dollars to come back for your film in
A
objectively
hundred,
one of the most iconic roles in the original movie.
they had enough to at least if they wanted to lowball them, do a million, do a million, because at the very least they could ponder that million and they'd be like, well, or even 5 million, like they could ponder that money and be like, well, I really love the original one. It meant a lot to be a part of it. I'll do it so I can buy a house. Like something simple like that. 100,000 is nothing.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if
Needs
we
the
were,
Bucks to do another Barry.
yeah, like, well, also Mindy Kaling, I don't want to just shit on her, but what she got in the pipe, Velma season 3?
I think it did get renewed because everyone's hate watching it. Literally
Yeah.
everyone's like, I hate this show. I'm gonna watch it on day one and binge it and then post on Twitter about how much I hate it, and then they boost the views and then it gets renewed. Mindy Kaling, though, I will admit, maybe it's a good idea she didn't come back. She's in a lot of hot water.
Yeah, she,
Yeah, she had the bad year. But I still think it's just weird. You had two very iconic actors and voices, that you just refuse to pay fairly for coming back and filling in those roles. I don't know. I think the film is enough draw with one being Disney, two being an adored Pixar movie from the last 10 years, and three, Iota Bright and My Hawk are extremely marketable right now and will get your butts in seats for multi-generational like audiences.
Yeah.
So it could be the surprise smash, but I'm not really sure if it's surprising though, because it just feels like we would
See,
expect Disney to do that.
I guess, but at the same time, for me, I think it was surprising because I did not see a lot of
Mhm.
excitement about it. I think a lot of people were like, "Do we need this?" And myself included, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I can't wait to see it. Is it necessary?" Um, Barely any marketing for a very long time. Barely any kind of like, "It's coming. It's on its way. Aren't you guys excited about it? Like, get excited." And then very suddenly, like the beginning of the month, it was just like inside out to everything.
Yeah.
It's like there's an ad that plays if you open the AMC app to buy tickets or something. It's like in theaters now or something like that. There's um so many positive reviews. I was watching the news and this dude was giving it this glowing A-star review talking about like how he knew it was going to be the hit of the summer and it's like I forgot what day it was coming out. I truly and I don't know, it's just I think it's surprising because maybe it's just like I'm not as focused on that as I once was, and Disney is in a lot of hot water and a lot of shit, so they kind of aren't in public favor the way they used to be.
Well, and Pixar hasn't had a hit in a while.
Yeah. Something that I thought, do you remember like earlier this year they re-released Soul, Turning Red, and Luca in theaters?
Yeah.
That made me feel really upset because Soul could have been arguably it is, but like it could have been a brand new classic.
Yeah.
And I don't really think it was anybody's fault either. That was the pandemic. Like they had no
Yeah.
idea it would have been way too far back to push it, but at the same time, that could have been a new classic.
Yeah.
Luca could have been an okay, like, 'cause I like Luca. Turning Red could have been like a new classic, but no, like the thing we got was Elemental.
Yeah. I
That
forgot
was
about Elemental,
that was what they dropped last summer.
which actually did really well, surprisingly. It was one of their lower budget pushes, and I think it made like triple its budget.
Really?
Yeah, I remember people saying Elemental was a bomb, but then when you looked at the actual numbers, it was a positive net for Pixar, which is good, but the thing is it wasn't a smash hit because it was August, right? That it came out, or was it July?
It came out around No Hard Feelings, I'm pretty sure, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, so it was August.
Oh,
And August or September, but I remember it just everyone was like, yeah, it's pretty good. But everyone who was like an animation diehard really enjoyed it. Um, it got positive reception overall. It just wasn't the big family hit that they thought it was going to be. It was actually more like teens and young adults going to see it.
which is really because I also think like I don't know, Pixar's kind of been dropping the ball lately.
Mhm.
And I think that they're leaning back into like, oh, okay, we're gonna make Toy Story 5. Not only that, we're gonna bring back Andrew Stanton. We're not gonna give this to someone new. We're gonna give
Yeah, that
this to
was
someone
weird.
who has only made hits for us.
Part of me just
Um,
thinks, what does Tom Hanks need to buy? Like I feel like he needs something. He's in some financial need that he's like, I'll do it.
he needs to, you know what? I feel like he takes roles at this point just to like pay TMZ to stop posting things about Chet Hanks.
Probably.
Or like to get him out of jail or to like just do it. Like it's all to cover Chet Hanks's ass. Like Tom Hanks would have he could be a trillionaire, hyperbole, but still like he could be a trillionaire at this point based on what he does, and it's I guarantee you it's all just cover Chet's ass.
It's probably like the easiest paycheck in the world for him and like Tim Allen because like Woody is so synonymous with Tom Hanks' voice
Yeah.
that I think, yeah, Tom Hanks, obviously he's a professional and he has to act, and I'm not saying it's easy for him, but it's probably like the amount of time it takes to record those lines. A week. I think it's probably a week out of his life that he just maybe 2 weeks comes in a booth. They have the animation prepped, and at this point, the Pixar's using the very advanced, kind of similar to what they were doing in Dune with the eyes. Like they have advanced AI lip syncing stuff, which they've been using since I think Up. So none of it is manual. It's all just completely automated, the lip syncing, and it's fairly easy to do that. So they probably just have the basic like animation prep, maybe rough storyboard sketches, animatics, have the actors come in, record the lines. If they need changes, they just bring them in another day. Like for them, it's probably just a walk in the park to get those
I
lines.
also something I think about a lot is that people always complain about getting more Toy Story, but that is the thing that made that company.
Yeah.
I highly doubt they're ever gonna drop that forever.
Toy Story would here's how you Toy Story could be a forever,
Yeah.
right? I think Toy Story is like an anthology series where you focus on like different characters and different toys overall, like the different movies. Like I think if they were to do 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, it's Disney, they need to put their money somewhere. They probably just have cash they need to burn. So
Right on.
if if they want to make all those movies, don't make it Woody and Buzz movies over and over and over and over. It would
Uh-huh.
be really excellent if we just had like different households, different kids, different toys, focus on different kind of like storylines that are very similar to 1, 2, and 3. Because that was a
Yeah.
very strict through line with those characters. You could introduce new characters that new generations could fall in love with, like we fell in love with the original characters. That would be kind of cool.
And I think you could even, I mean, like, don't modernize it to a point where there's like a talking iPad, but like modernize it to a point where like I think a cowboy and an astronaut are very 1995
Mhm.
concept of like that's what a kid would want to play with. Like something that I think would be brilliant, which I know kind of Buzz Lightyear kind of is, but like make a movie about a kid who's got action figures from two competing um major franchises right
Yeah.
now. 'Cause that's where a lot of them come from. So like obviously they would have to get the rights, and I don't think this is a good idea to like stick existing IP that they own into a Toy Story movie. But a brilliant concept would just be like Batman came out like 3 months ago, and
Mhm.
now he's sitting on a shelf because Spider-Man came out, and
Yeah.
this kid just wants everything Spider-Man. He wants to play Spider-Man.
Technically, that's what the first Toy Story is about, though.
Well, yeah,
Woody's
yeah.
Roundup and then the Lightyear show or whatever, I guess movie based on the Lightyear lore.
Oh,
I don't know.
I just stole the premise of the first. Well, oh no, no. I guess that was my point. Actually,
You could just rehash it for
redo
new
it, rehash
generation.
it, and make it a little modern based on like what the toys would be now too. Because no kids playing with a Slinky.
No.
Even when we were kids, I had a Slinky, and I was like, "What the fuck do I do with this?" I just kind of like did this
Listen
when
to
I need to like
us.
stimulate myself a bit. And
We need to send this clip to Disney. We can make them millions of dollars just with this idea alone. Just tell them you can rehash the same movie with different characters over and over and over again, and people will come to see it.
you know what? Make it live action,
Easy money.
easy money. Wait, that is Mufasa a summer release?
No, that's December. No, it's not summer, but I think it's winter. Gosh, when is that? November, maybe.
See, something that's interesting to me, speaking just to kind of like get back on topic of Inside Out too. I've seen more for that nobody really enjoyed this like the movie that's a prequel for.
Hmm.
Like even though it made $1 billion, like I don't think anybody genuinely has like love for that film or even really
No,
remembers it came out. Um, I've seen more for Mufasa than I did at all for Inside Out 2, and I don't know if they were intentionally trying to hide it because like even the first teaser trailer or the first teaser poster is like the new emotions peeking out at the bottom, but like they're trying to like suppress the emotions, so they're standing on top of them, so we don't really know a ton. But at the same time, it's like Mufasa's got a trailer that's like fully developed. It's playing before like every movie that I'm going to see right now. There's two posters up at my AMC.
I didn't even
There's
know there was a trailer for Mufasa.
there's a trailer, there's a poster, there's a snippet of a song I think that was dropped.
Barry, please blink twice if you need help.
I'm so interested in what's going on in his brain right now because I do not fully understand how he
Yeah.
got there.
I think we're in a weird state where like Pixar is having their first hit in a while. Marvel's gonna sweep July, possibly some of August.
Yeah.
But we do have some fun stuff coming out. Like I think the number one like definitive bomb of June is gonna be Horizon. I think looking at Horizon, they're estimating a 12 million opening. on a 160 million budget. So my friend right now,
Not getting his
he's
house back.
in Utah working on 3 right now. He texted me that projection that they're estimating 12 million, and I'm like, dude, that's not good at all. And like I'll be there. I got my tickets already. I'm sat. I'm ready for some Costner. But when I bought my tickets, I'm like, no one else is in this theater.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely worried. I think it's gonna come out and just almost immediately fall flat on its face. And the biggest problem is we have an August release for chapter 2.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's gonna work. And I think the idea was we get people to see chapter 1 and then they're excited to see chapter 2. The only reason Dune 2 did so well is because, and I know it was post-pandemic, but 1 came out to like, you know, a really decent box office. It made its money and it got really good reception. It won Oscars. Everyone watched that movie on HBO Max over the past like couple years, and then we're like, I'm ready for part 2. Because part 2 got delayed and it was a major like, hey, this sucks. I wanted to see part 2 in November, but now everyone was ready to see part 2 in March. Did gangbusters. Everyone's talking about it because 2 had arguably a bigger cultural impact than the first one. I think you almost need to set up Horizon 1 for like a definitive failure. You almost need it to fall flat. Wait a year, release part 2 because everyone will have seen it on streaming.
Everybody like exactly what the audience for it will be there if you give it time.
Yeah.
I also think if this was the 1990s and a Kevin Costner movie was being split into 2 parts that were coming out in 1 year, perfect.
Yeah.
Or something like Spider-Verse where it's like come see Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse in June and then come back in October and see Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Incredible. This is an original IP in an unfortunately dead genre, starring someone who I I'm not the biggest Kevin Costner fan, but I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, it's literally just like a weird personal beef for
Yeah.
no logical reason. But starring someone who hasn't necessarily been the most popular in film. He had Yellowstone, and I think he kind of maybe over exaggerated his comeback in his mind and was like, I can definitely do this, and people will definitely show up for anything that I do, which is admirable, but maybe needed to be thought through a little more. I kind of hope that it does good though.
I know.
Because if it does, first of all, like I know you said you know people who worked on it, and like I think it would be great if they worked on a film that did really well. Not to mention, it is an original IP starring somebody that's not really that famous, and if for some reason it like, well, not really that famous, Kevin Costner, but like you know what I mean. The other thing about Dune Part One is that Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet
Exactly.
continuously upped their careers by the time Part Two came out, to a point where people were probably going more to see them if they had no idea what Dune was. Yeah, I don't know what to say without maybe being like a little too mean.
It
I
is
hope
a I mean,
well.
the Cannes reviews came out, and I also think that killed it. I think premiering at Cannes was a terrible decision because it wasn't the audience for it. And I know it's historic and it's great. Kevin Costner's comeback, he's premiering at Cannes, but God, like it just did nothing for the film. The all the reviews were just lukewarm, and kind of like Indiana Jones, it just kills it so it's dead on arrival because now someone, and it's not even like those are niche reviews. People are, you have to be in the certain circles to read. Like it's everywhere. It's on Variety, Entertainment Weekly, People. Like it says Kevin Costner at Cannes to mixed reception. So it's like I don't want to see that. If the big money people didn't like it, then I won't like it. Why should I spend 3 hours in a movie theater?
I mean,
But
they were kind of right about. They have a tendency to be right about things. Sometimes they're completely wrong. I remember I think they booed Fight Club,
true, yeah,
and now like look at where that's at. But at the same time, like you said, Destiny came out to mixed reception. A lot of things come out to Megalopolis came out to mixed reception, where it was either the greatest thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. And now, like, like, well, that's not been proven yet, so it's kind of a bad example.
yeah,
But like, usually, especially because like they're the people that are willing to stand up for 10 minutes and clap if a movie's really that great.
yeah.
They have durability. They have to sit through a lot of these. They have to actually like, I don't know. I think unfortunately like that's gonna be maybe a meme. It's either going
Unfortunate.
to bomb very hard and be a meme, or it's going to shock everybody.
Yeah.
And that could, I don't know if it would do Top Gun numbers.
I don't think it'll do Top Gun numbers. And here's another thing with the marketing. They're relying on just his name alone, right? You mentioned how, maybe investing too much in himself. And I think Kevin Costner could be a very marketable name right now. You know the Mad Max trailers and even like the Furiosa posters, right? Like it says from Mastermind George Miller. Like they're promoting this guy as a legend, which
Yeah.
to the people that know, he is. George Miller is a legend. He created Mad Max, he directed the first three films, and if he's coming back to do Fury Road all this time later, this is probably going to be pretty damn good, right?
Yeah.
It would be like if Dial of Destiny came out and it said a film by Steven Spielberg, people would have gone fucking nuts, right?
Oh no, they would have fucking flocked to that.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Horizon. They needed to like market the shit out of the name to be like, because this is a pretty big deal. Kevin Costner's return to the big screen. He hasn't made a film in a hell of a long time, and he's been known on the small screen. He kind of came in with Hatfields and McCoys, and then Yellowstone was this big kind of revival for Kevin Costner that he owns that show. That is his entity. He owns the small screen, and for those captive audiences, he is something that they can connect with. And overall, while he really had nothing to do with the creation or the creative side of Yellowstone, he left because he didn't like where Taylor Sheridan was taking it. So he says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take all those big bucks. I'm going to make a movie that I've always wanted to make because I can, because people know me. But the thing is, the wrong people know you. The movie people don't know you. The TV people know you. The more conservative audience that watches Yellowstone knows you.
Yeah.
That would be a great audience to tap into for Horizon because they love you on Yellowstone and they're going to love you in Horizon, but they don't know you're directing Horizon. They don't know you are Horizon. All they know is they see a poster that just says Kevin Costner. They don't see the tiny text above it that says a film by.
I feel like, not to generalize, but I also feel like that's the group of people that anytime anything comes out, they go, I'm sure it'll be on Netflix.
Exactly.
And then they never see the movie.
Exactly.
Um, respectfully, did we keep any of the Sound of Freedom rant into that one episode?
No, I cut it all out.
Okay, never mind then. Kaylee, cut that out. Thank you.
They we're what, a week out? It comes out on the 28th, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, two.
But actually, by the time this episode comes out, we'll be a week out from Horizon. And I haven't seen fucking jack shit besides posters and a trailer that I saw twice in theaters. I would expect like all these social media videos where it's like interviews with Kevin Costner where he's standing in front of a green screen backdrop and he's like talking about, hey, I'm gonna immerse you in the Wild West and the pioneer days, and then you see clips from the movie and then interviews with the actors. Like that's what I want to see from this. This
Here's
needs
the
to
thing.
be an event.
My Kevin Costner beef comes with the fact that I also think he thinks he's too good for that.
Exactly.
I think he genuinely believes he can still market it the way that you would in the 90s, where he probably is going to go on ET. He's going to go on Entertainment Tonight,
Hmm.
go on Access Hollywood, maybe. And if he doesn't like a producer and one star, one like young up and coming actor that's in the film, will go. And he's gonna do nothing. He's probably sitting back right now going like, all I gotta do is wait.
Yeah.
I gotta do is see.
I'm
That was
I'm just appalled at and this is Warner too. This is Warner Brothers pushing this movie. I feel like they just want it to fail and I don't know why because if you marketed this as you have to see this on the big screen, the
yeah.
return of legendary director Kevin Costner, director of Dances with Wolves, the movie that everyone watches on Thanksgiving and hates to watch because it's 4 hours long, but good God, is it a great movie? It's that movie that your dad loves. Horizon's coming out around Father's Day. It's like the equation is there, and they just did not know how to solve it.
Which is funny because Father's Day, while we're recording this, is tomorrow. Horizon being 2 weeks away. Who's gonna go take their father to see her? Like, Do you think somebody's unwrapping like tickets to Horizon, like just one of those pieces of paper that has the AMC
Yeah.
confirmation code on it tomorrow, and they'll be like, "Oh boy!" Like I don't really see that happening. I think, well, and the other thing is that part of me wonders if maybe this was their like, all right, so Apple TV and Paramount got Scorsese,
Mhm.
Netflix got Spike Lee. Uh, Trying to think of some other good examples. Universal took a risk on Nolan,
Yeah.
uh, for that movie. I wonder if for some reason they thought that this would be a calculated risk that would work because of his legacy and because of Yellowstone's influence. I really, I think they're setting it up for fail, and they're setting it up to fail, and they don't really know
Yeah.
that they are. I think they're really expecting this to do numbers, and I think it's like this also could be detrimental enough for them to go like, well, we're never doing this again.
I
We're
feel
never
like
really.
the production of 4 is in dire trouble. I think if 1 and 2 don't do well, they may eke out a push for 3 because I mean they're already filming it. It's going to be finished. Like they're not going to cut it off. I think it might have to end with 3, or they push and they make it like a streaming straight to Max. Like I don't even know what the possibility could be, but you want your audience not only to be basically interested in what you're putting out. You need to give, like you were talking about earlier, you need to give your audience an incentive. And like why should I go sit for 3 hours
Yeah.
and watch Kevin Costner, you
Wait,
know,
Horizon is 3 hours, and this is part one.
part 1 is 3 hours and 1 minute and part 2 is 2 hours and 44. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm strapping in, buddy. I'm there. I'm gonna have my camera out to take a picture of my friends' names in the credits, and I will
he's making
record
his
back.
own. He's making his own Lord of the Rings. I
Yeah.
guarantee. If part four was going to be the climax, he was expecting that to be like a 4 hour, 11 minute, finale for everything.
What's nice is that I don't think he has plans for like director's cuts. I think they basically gave him full creative control. So I think he's just putting out what he wants to put out, which, good for him.
I
I'm
would
just,
love.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I would love if there was like maybe a little revisionist history and we were all wrong and it was good, so that maybe in the future, like we can look and go like, oh, you know what, like Kevin Costner was kind of like he did have a legacy, and his legacy ended when he made these movies that maybe didn't do so well, but they were really good, and we still got this from him in his career
Yeah.
span, in his lifetime.
Maybe we should get sponsored by Horizon. Maybe that.
Honestly, that might be. Well, I've been talking so much shit about them. I don't actually know if we'll be able.
Have you tried the Green Mountain Horizon blend?
No.
Yeah, go to Walmart for
Yeah.
$12.94. You can buy Keurig K-Pods of the Horizon blend by Green Mountain.
Here's the thing, too. Anybody seeing that movie is somebody that's still using Keurig pods, which not to shit on Keurig, but at the same time, like,
I use Keurig on the daily. This was made with Keurig.
what does the cup say?
It says life is fucking relentless, and it's a crab smoking a cigarette. I found this at a Goodwill.
Yeah.
It is the Goodwill Donation Center where they have a bunch of bins that you just have to dig through. Found it at the bottom of the bin. I felt like I needed it. It was 98 cents, and I said, "This is my mug."
That is the best mug I've ever seen.
I think it's pretty great. I deep cleaned it for like a month before I used it.
That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, Horizon dead on arrival. I think it's just not gonna do well. But genre heads rejoice because we have a Western. We got some horror coming out this summer. We already
Yep.
talked about Cuckoo and Longlegs. Maxine is in July, right?
Yeah, July 4th, 5th.
Yeah, it's 4th of July.
That week.
And
I know I just looked and it was July 3rd was early access, and then
yeah,
July 5th is
yeah.
release. So
They're
it's
doing
those.
something fun though. I don't know if you're going. They're doing the X fan event. So they're doing on June 18th, they're showing X I think at like 6:30, and you go and you get like an extended preview of Maxine. And I don't know, they may have like posters. I don't know if they'll have something, but like I feel like A24 is doing a genuinely good job pushing this movie because this is the only one I feel people have no idea what it's about.
I also think they're a little understanding of the fact that like with X and Pearl, like people were very speaking of Horizons in part one and
Yeah,
two's,
it was in the same year, wasn't it?
and I think that they could market Pearl really heavily off the fact that like you guys saw this in March.
Mm-hmm.
There was that little trailer at the end. Well, congratulations, because now here's the payoff,
Yeah,
like months later.
which I
Where
forgot that happened in the same year.
see, the only reason I remember it is because I just rewatched X, and
Mm.
I plan to rewatch Pearl too. But like the thing that made me like rewatch Pearl faster was not turning, not taking the disc out by the time the credits were done, and seeing that and going like, they really did something.
Yeah.
That was a little unprecedented to be able to pull that out that fast. That was like a Back to the Future move, actually.
Speaking of Pearl, hold on, I have to show you something. Look at that.
Oh,
It's the
wait.
Walmart.
Did I tell you about how I was looking for that because I was never able to get Pearl on disc?
No, but even the standard cover on the back is
The same thing. I miss when they did that for like two movies, I think.
they did, yeah, Pearl and oh, it's dented. Um,
I finally maybe cut this out because I don't know. I finally got one like today.
let's go.
I finally got one, so now I don't
I
have to
will
look.
say the standard Blu-ray, which I gave to Kyle, is actually really cool. The slipcover, I got it at Target and they price matched Amazon, which was like, God bless. Um, it's the main poster where she's like doing this and she has the axe
Yeah.
in front of the barn doors with the X, but
Mhm.
it's like embossed. So like the whole thing is like matte finish and it's you can like run your finger over it and it's
It's
like
kind of like do you have the Blu-ray for X?
I do.
You know what was weird is that half of them, the one that my friend has is a flat matte.
Hmm.
The one that I have is embossed.
Mine is embossed.
Yeah, I think that was weird. I wonder if there was either like a run at the beginning that was
Mhm.
like less effort, or maybe a run towards the end of them producing them that was less effort. But I think that that's kind of funny,
Yeah.
and it's such a weirdly specific thing. But I also know that if I did not own that, I would be on the hunt for not just the slipcover, but the
Hmm.
embossed one, which would be the biggest pain in the ass in the
Yeah.
world.
I remember I got X finally because I thought Best Buy had it for 19 when it came out, and I was like, I don't want to spend 19 on just a standard Blu-ray. And then they finally dropped it to their standard 14.99. Um, but some of the A24 ones are 25. I don't understand. Like they're either 14.99 or 25.
Something that just made me really happy is I don't know if you do you have Iron Claw Dream Scenario or Priscilla on Blu-ray.
None of them.
I'm positive all of them were just dropped to $15 at Target.
Okay,
Uh,
that's it.
and when I bought Priscilla, it rung up at 10.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna be
Uh,
downtown.
I also think the holdovers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the holdovers dropped, but they were sold out. I
I'm
didn't.
gonna I know my Target's been phasing physical out, but I'll take a look because I always just go off of the shelf price. I should probably just take it and scan it at the thing. Because I remember when I scanned Pearl at Walmart, it rung up less because they were doing some like deal on the day it came out. So you never know, you know? But yeah, I love Pearl. I'm seeing Maxine, sorry, I'm seeing X at the fan event on Tuesday, and then my local revival is playing Pearl at the end of the month. So I'm gonna go see that.
You know what's funny too is I think that they are showing Pearl at the end of the month as well. Smaller, but I think AMC at the very least has it listed as like
Mhm.
a $5 fan favorites or something like,
Yeah.
or a reissue or something like that. The I think that's marketing of the year.
Yeah,
To bring
100%.
it back, to where this started. I've said that too many times during this episode, but to bring it back where it started, that's definitely like marketing of the year.
What I feel bringing X back makes more sense than Pearl. Like obviously it's fun to see all three of them, but like it makes more sense to see Pearl and then X and then Maxine. So bringing X back for that one night only event seems cool because that leads straight into Maxine.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's because it's kind of like the same thing of like it would that's kind of interesting because I don't know how to like articulate this thought out loud just yet, but that's kind of the same thing as if like for some reason they thought that it would be a good idea to play Rogue One. Like if everything was like changed, like if they decided to play Rogue One before Rise of Skywalker came out,
Yeah, that'd be
they
like,
were they were just like, yeah, you know what? Actually, like it just no, it wouldn't make sense. It would just be cool vibes.
no, I think Maxine is gonna have a pretty good opening. I think it'll be, has its niche market besides A24 fans, but and horror fans. Pearl and X were really well received. Pearl more than X, but they're just fun. They're fun movies to watch, and they're very well made. People love Mia Goth is fairly marketable. I think she has a nice market of people that connect with her and want to see her in her films. And Maxine had a bit of that kind of controversy with the extra that was
Yeah,
filing, but I don't think that was enough to bring the movie down. And also the cast is stacked. They dropped the character posters. And like I see people
of course.
sharing the posters and like Kevin Bacon's in it, Elizabeth Debicki's in it, Giancarlo Esposito's in it. Like
I also think there's something about like horror does really well with
mm,
everybody. Even if it's not good, like Tarot still made more money than I ever could have expected that it did,
yeah.
and I feel like that was a tax write-off movie, respectfully. Um, I think that they kind of like get a much bigger built-in audience because I don't know, maybe that's the surprise hit of the summer. Maybe that does like a weird amount that nobody's expecting and like just blows past what Pearl and X did.
I feel like people are genuinely curious about it because this is like I said, this is the one I feel like they've revealed the least about the plot. Going into X, you knew it was going to be a slasher. Pearl, you knew it was going to be like a creepy slasher, but almost like had its vibe to it. But this one, I'm like, what is this movie about? Like,
Yeah.
there was a definitive villain in the first one, there was a villain in the second one, and there was, but like they set up the Night Stalker and that kind of historical context for Maxine. But I'm like, what else is going on? Like, what does X have to do with this? And it just looks cool. And I showed the trailer to my mom, who she was living in LA when the Night Stalker was like a thing. And so
Um,
she was excited about it because she's like, I remember how scary that was when that was around and you had to close your windows at night because it was a hot summer. And that could be a market too of people who are familiar with that kind of history, true crime. I don't know. It could be our big ticket summer event. Unfortunately, it is like an R-rated A24 movie that does keep people out.
you know what though? I will say that like A24 is something completely different now.
Yeah.
A24 is the fact that Civil War got so much time in IMAX, and not only that, but it's like it was number one on streaming for like quite some time.
Yeah.
Like that shocked me.
Yeah.
Usually those are the movies where it's like, or even I Saw the TV Glow.
Hmm.
I did not expect that to have a long run as it did, and it was
Still
sold out.
going.
Oh shit, really? Because
Yeah.
they dropped it on streaming
They
too.
dropped it on streaming, but it's still playing at my Regal, and my friend in Utah said it's still playing over there.
And see what's interesting is that like both times I went it was packed because I had to leave the first time, and I check like every once in a while, and like it, I've seen a couple sold out ones just
Yep.
like at very random times.
That's word of mouth right there. I think that's a really good word of mouth example that it has a really small but solid impact. And
Yeah,
obviously it's such a low budget that it'll probably make its money back. It's funny. I opened up Twitter, first thing I saw, Officer and a Gentleman remake starring Miles Teller.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We summoned it. We summoned Miles Teller.
I don't know. He's making weird moves. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
But yeah. So I think we've kind of laid out the big moves for this summer, and I think my biggest problem is when you look back at summers past, and I'm talking about like childhood, I'm talking like growing up, like the
Yeah,
Avengers, Harry Potter, fucking like every May through August was just chock full of some of the biggest movies you could think of that were like I think I can't even explain it. It just felt like an event.
I have a few topics that I actually wrote down that I kind of wanted to bring up. We weren't alive for these two, but I think arguably Jaws and
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, huge. And I do not think you would disagree in saying those are like huge movies for us as well.
No, I mean Jaws is the original summer blockbuster.
Exactly. And so like I think that because I think we were talking about like picking ones that were very impactful for us, and I think that like something that's interesting to me now is to look at Jaws and think like that was the thing that people were waiting in line for. That's the thing people were getting tickets for because that's the thing that Letterboxd and film Twitter users are showing up to. That's
Mhm.
not going to make its money back, unfortunately, today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even Jurassic Park. That's something where it's like I don't know that had so much competing against it that year too.
Yeah. That was
I
a
remember
year.
but there was when Jurassic World came out, and I think it was the same year that like Aladdin came out. Like everything that came out in 1994 was suddenly like getting a sequel that same year, and people were talking about that and how wild that was. Um, and then the other thing I was going to mention is that like this is kind of the best time I think to go back and like thank Marvel and like jump into the fact that like they really kind of saved the summer blockbuster for like a really long time,
Yeah.
where their schedule of 3 a year, which was usually uh if they either
Like
did a
it was like an
February.
early, late summer, early and a late summer, and then a fall.
Yeah,
They always
yeah,
had
yeah.
a May, an April or a May, and then they would have like an August.
Sometimes they would do a November. There's not a ton of Novembers though. But I think they really kind of they saved movie theaters' asses for a bit there.
Yeah.
I think after Ant-Man and that February release though, I think it's very difficult for them to get any sort of like we said when we were talking about Deadpool, any sort of like traction
Yeah.
to do that again maybe. But even in the idea that like people wanting to compete against Marvel then kept it alive and then gave
Yeah.
us blockbusters in the summer. So the idea of like Batman versus Superman. Was that 2015 or 16?
16.
So 2016 was pretty big, but
2016, I remember, was a huge, well, 2015 was a big summer. Like July
that
was mad, like May through August was huge. We had Age of Ultron, Mad Max Fury Road, Inside Out, Minions, Jurassic World, all coming out in the summer months.
I would argue 2015 maybe not like the most quality year,
Hmm.
but that was big enough to actually like bury Marvel.
Oh, 100%, because Star Wars came out.
Star Wars came out, a new Jurassic World, which hit
Yeah.
$1 billion, which I don't think anybody expected it to do that well when it
Jurassic
hit.
World was the highest grossing of the summer.
And I think that year we got we got Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, like you said,
Hmm.
their weakest year, and
Yeah.
it was surrounded by a bunch of like heavy ass hitters. That was when Inside Out first came out too.
Yeah.
And that was like relatively. I don't know if that was summer though, but no, it was. It was
May.
June
Or
or
it was
May.
June, yeah, and then Minions was July. And I remember Universal was the king that summer with Jurassic World and Minions both doing a billion or close to a billion. And then Star Wars just cleaned up for the year,
I
which
remember.
everybody knew was gonna happen.
I remember I went to see think it was an early screening of Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and still the only thing in IMAX. Yeah, I had to go like far out to an AMC. Like it was the first time I ever went to an AMC dine-in,
Yeah.
um, which sucked. But I think we ordered food and they never brought it in because it was a screening, but nobody told us that we weren't allowed to, or it was an advanced screening, so nobody told us we weren't allowed to like get food.
Oh,
Uh, but I do remember that still being in IMAX and
mhm.
like being a little like no, I never got to see it in that big of like a theater, and like I did like sneak in, and I think it was the scene where she's in the I don't know. I my memory's not good enough for me to have a story for that right now, but I do remember that being really exciting that that lasted that long because I was in theaters till 2016. That was in theaters till April, I think.
Yeah. I think,
Uh,
yeah, 2015 was crazy. And I remember just the vibe around the movies. We had a Terminator movie came out in 2015.
it did, yeah.
Like it didn't do that well, but I remember like it just felt like the franchise year, right? It felt like the big meme that year was like you look at the marquee and it was the Robin Williams saying, "What year is it?" Like it was so weird that we had all these nostalgia franchises coming out.
I would argue last year kind of was as well, but
Hmm.
it was supplemented by the fact that they were good.
Yeah.
It was also supplemented by the fact that we were getting very, very good. And I would say at the end of 2022 got very, very good movies that brought us into to the year, and then independent original ideas that were supplemented and available to us like that year. Like when you think about 2023, like I remember. Actually, let me start 2022. Banshees of Inisherin,
Mm.
Tar. So like anybody that was going for like artistic cinematic kind of stuff like that. Even like stuff like See How They Run, Glass Onion, Pinocchio, Bones and all of that stuff. When it got time for the next year, like everybody wanted to go.
Yeah.
Everybody was already hooked. Everybody was like, all right, well, all these are like, now let's go see things in IMAX. Let's go see things in Dolby. Let's go see these big like things that we're excited for that look good, that you can tell people cared about.
Because
Or-
22 had Top Gun, obviously, was the king of the summer, but even Jurassic World was a massive hit.
And we also and Northman and Everything Everywhere all at once.
Oh
So those
God,
were
yeah,
supplemented
that
by
was April, right?
ideas. Yeah. Uh, were they both April?
Yeah, Everything Everywhere I think came out technically in March, but I remember The Northman was. I remember I watched The Northman coming home from an event, and I was very hungover that morning, and we drove straight to the theater, and I had this massive headache, and by the end of the movie, I was like cured. I was like enlightened by this film.
I remember being really confused because I was sitting with my friend in the theater and they played the trailer for The Northman before The Northman, and the we're gonna spoil The Northman on this podcast, if I remember it correctly. They played and they're like, witness the first part of an epic saga, and I was like, is this them telling us it's a franchise like on opening night, like they're about to like they just spoil that, like we don't have to worry about anybody dying, like we don't have to worry about anything, and this is gonna be like a series now. And then I remember it spoilers, if you want to put like a tag or something, but he just dies.
Yeah, he just fucking dies.
Fucking dies, he rides off, and like even the story itself, it was so self-contained. I was kind of like, what intern at the like in Universal's marketing department, was it Universal? I think like Universal's marketing department was like, oh, it'd be really cool telling us the first part of an epic saga and never making another one.
Marketing for that movie was atrocious. I'm sorry. Like we had a floating head poster for that movie. That's
Yeah,
that's all you need to know. And
yeah.
in general, the film fucking rocks, and I love The Northman. But marketing it like this hardcore action movie just was not it. Like they only used the clips from the first part of the movie
Yeah.
to sell that it's like this Viking action movie. And the whole thing is a very slow burn revenge film with some insane action, but like it's not this high adrenaline movie. So kind of like The Green Knight, it's
Oh
in
yeah.
the same vein where same thing. The Green Knight should have been a Christmas release. It should have been a winter release. Putting
Yep.
it in the summer in these, indie theaters saying The Green Knight is going to be the fantasy adventure of the summer. Like, come on, dude. You knew you were setting people up to not like that movie.
I think the other thing is, and this could just be me being slightly disconnected from movie news, but it's shocking to me when things are coming out now. For the sake of like, I know that there's been like a rumor that there's been a Lord of the Rings movie that they've been like waiting to release. That's this year and next year.
And it's an animated movie. I had no idea it was animated.
They should probably make that a bigger deal.
They showed it off at the Annecy Festival,
Yeah,
it's War of the Rohirrim. And I
yeah,
thought for the longest time that it was a live action movie, and all of a sudden I see the stills and it's anime style. And I was like, holy shit, this looks cool.
yeah.
And I'm like, this comes out in October,
Yeah.
November? Like, where the fuck is the.
In theaters too.
Yeah, which
Eh,
is crazy. I'll be there.
There's another thing where it's like, I think it's Watchmen. DC and DC Animation is making the Watchmen Part 1 and 2. I don't know if that's going to theaters, but they just released a trailer for it, and if
Is
that's
it
coming
a,
out
I think
next year,
is it a movie or is it a series?
it's a movie. It's a
What?
movie. Part one's rated R.
There's no way it's coming to theaters. That's crazy.
I feel like it has to be because the way that they presented it. Let me pull up the thing real quick.
Because I saw the trailer. I don't
So
know.
there's a trailer, and then at the end of the trailer, because here's the thing, I was like, oh, is this coming to disc? Is it going to theaters or is it going to Max? Max didn't post the trailer,
Right.
so I don't think it's going to Max. Um,
All I saw were the Snyder babies crying about it because they said that it stole Zack Snyder's movie, and I'm like, do they think he created Watchmen?
They're gonna be so pissed when they find. It's like the people that watch the TV show and they're like, "That's not Watchmen." It's like there's a lot more Watchmen than you realize in that one movie he made. Okay, here's another weird thing. It's not on IMDb. I don't know what's gonna happen with it. I don't know where it's going, but
That's another one that's coming out. Transformers. We have a Transformers movie coming out,
yeah,
which it got a standing ovation at the Annecy Festival, and the overall reactions to the film are insanely positive. Which, judging by that first trailer, I was very like, okay, this is just a kids movie, whatever. And everyone is saying it is like the best Transformers movie ever made. It is insanely great. That the action is top tier. I'm like, what are they marketing? Like, what
can
are
we
they
be?
hiding from us?
I think we will. We should be fair for a second and say that I feel like I've seen that. I've seen every Transformers movie called the best Transformers movie
That's
we've
true.
gotten.
That is
Uh, but not out of Annecy. Usually that's an
yeah,
opening weekend. Some, local film critic from a TV station is kind of like, I had a great time with this, the best one I've seen so far, because they just don't.
yeah.
They don't want to be too
On a
analytical about
DVD, the best Transformers yet.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, I missed those actually. Ironically, I miss like the like shot like I miss buying a mid or bad movie on Blu-ray just because I like how like weird or bad it is and see like when Warcraft came out and there was like six different pull quotes on it. And I remember having
Every single Spider-Man DVD has, like, from two onward, says the best Spider-Man yet.
I think what's funny too is every Marvel trailer, every MCU trailer, there's always and it's I swear to God, it's Peter Travers of the Rolling Stone. He loves every
Yep.
movie that he has ever seen. Uh, God bless that man. I always see it, and it's usually from him in like a TV spot where it's like the best Marvel movie yet, and it's
Yeah.
like you really think they're just one upping each other every single time?
I
Like
think No Way Home is the only one that's different, and it says the greatest superhero movie of all time. And I'm like,
I think it's funny because didn't they include that on the Walmart exclusive Blu-ray at the
yeah,
bottom?
that's the one I have, yeah.
Which is wild because it's like, yeah, I need to get that. I really want that one.
But yeah, I don't know. It's very marketing is really weird. I feel like we have so much coming out, and I had no idea. Like I even said, I never seen a Mufasa trailer. I didn't watch it online. I didn't know there was a trailer. I've only seen a teaser poster. Like, what is happening? What is
And
going on, and why is it just?
I
Like
think,
I first said, I think they need to just stop making movies because I haven't seen them all.
yeah, but give me 5 years. Let me check them all out, and then start marketing them in a way that I know that they're coming out. Two things. Speaking, I didn't get to say when you were talking about War of Raheem because we kind of roared me. I don't. I've read all the books, and I guarantee you, I did not read a single one of those words right. I did not learn them until I watched the movies again. But I remember somebody just asked Ian Kellen if he was going to be in The Search for Gollum, and I think his definitive one-line answer was, "If I'm still alive."
Yeah,
I fucking love Ian McKellen. That's
yeah,
the best possible response that you
I
could
love
give
it.
to a question like that. That was incredible. And the other thing is that I think some companies think they're too big to fail.
Mhm.
I think some studios are looking at things and they're like, especially Disney, because this is Disney hater group. I think that they don't think that they have to try anymore because we know
Yeah.
we don't anymore, especially because they're losing our interest in a lot of this stuff.
Last year was their lowest performing year.
And last year was arguably when I saw the least from them for anything. And honestly, I think I saw the most for Indiana Jones, and I was looking for stuff for Indiana Jones though.
Yeah.
But something I really loved was the marketing for the Batman because it's like, yes, it's a Batman movie, but they didn't treat it like everybody was just gonna go see it anyway. We got that really weird Batman calzone with from Little Caesars that I had a ton of. You saw it everywhere. You knew exactly when it was coming out. They did collabs with things. They did the Mr. Dr. Squatch soap bars. I bought two of those just out of excitement for the movie and knowing it was
Yeah.
coming. That's all capitalism too, which is horrendous. But at the same time, like I feel like they forget that they have to spend money to make money, and the money that they're spending to market these movies aren't being used
Like
well.
the they would post behind the scenes and stuff. They would post like featurettes on social media so that you could get a glimpse at what, Matt Reeves' vision was, because it was
And
something new and different. They needed to test the waters with the audience.
the press junket was so extensive. They got the people you wanted to hear from
Mhm.
talking about it. They probably worked in their contracts where it's like you have to come out, and whether it like I remember seeing I can't think of his name, the guy that plays Gordon, Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Every interview, nobody asked Jeffrey Wright anything, but he's still sitting there. And when he is asked a question, he gives the best answer.
Yeah.
Kind of the same with what's it called? Oddly enough, Garfield.
Mhm.
Garfield has done like an insane amount of marketing. Like that's a movie that I had never had any intention of seeing. But I like if you go to an Olive Garden right now, which I would love if Olive Garden sponsored us. Actually, we should do like a fake ad for them because
I kind of want to go to Olive Garden actually.
I think we should film from an Olive. We should do an episode from an Olive Garden at one
Should
point. Talk about mob movies.
and
Just eat.
it's like the guy that's like screaming in the restaurants, and we're like, "Bury me in cheese, John."
We need to review every Garfield movie that has ever been released in an Olive. But so it's like they have like that furry motherfucker is everywhere inside of Olive Garden right now. Apparently, they have ads running on TikTok. They have ads running on TV. It's like genuine marketing,
Mhm.
especially for a movie of that caliber where they know it's not going to be like the biggest thing in the world, but like if a kid goes to Olive Garden with his family and like gets a little menu where he can color in Garfield Nobody, like yeah, no shit, they're gonna ask their parents if they can go see it. And like I know we talked about missing marketing like that, like the Dr. Pepper cans, the Dorito bags, and stuff like that, but like I feel like that genuinely kind of made people more excited for these things and a little less like, oh shit, that's coming out. Like, how easy would it be for the producers of Twister to make like a Twister tea,
Yeah.
like market it to adults and just make a Twister tea or something like that?
Twisted tea, Twister's tea.
Yeah, it's Earl Grey tea, like something dumb.
Why are we so good at this? We people need to
Because we
listen.
loved it when it was
We're,
happening.
we are so good at this. Maybe I have a new career in marketing.
I love too how like we started off and we were like we should talk about like our inspirations like Michael Mann, like foreign films, things that like that, and it's just like
Twisted tea.
we need to get Stouffer's to make a lasagna with the picture of Garfield on it. Like just
Exactly.
they did actually. That's
Yeah,
why
they
I
did.
remember
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
I just went to the grocery store and like do stuff like that so people know
Yeah,
instead of like having the cast of Inside Out go to BuzzFeed and do a couple silly questions and you see like 10 seconds of the interview on TikTok and this one's like, oh, that's cool, that's out. I should check that out and then never think about it again.
it's weird. I went to LA like a, a couple weeks ago. I spent the weekend in Burbank,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell you a single like billboard or poster. They just don't have them out. Like I drove by the Warner lot, and usually they have it like their production offices. They have this gigantic poster that last year they had a Barbie poster, and then you drive by the studio, and on the side of the sound stages they have different posters up. All they had was like HBO Max stuff, like a Looney Tunes kids show coming out, a couple of the Fox shows that shoot there. And I was like, where are the movie posters? Like, I remember driving by Sony as a kid and seeing the Amazing Spider-Man 2 poster and being like, oh my God. Like,
There it is. Yeah.
I literally,
I have a beautiful memory of from where I am to get into the city, it's still like maybe half an hour and you gotta get on a highway.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things as a kid was to go when we went into the city, I would stare out the window and stare at all the billboards
Yeah, same.
for all of the movies, whether I knew what it was about, whether I cared what it was about, whether I was excited for it or not. I saw like so many cool things, and one of my favorite memories is seeing the core. Like, my brother started going to college, and I got to see the Coraline one so many times that eventually,
Mhm.
like, it got me so excited.
Yeah.
Like, I was like waiting. I was like, all right, this is a stretch of road that has the Coraline one, and it was like kind of 3D, and it was the little tunnel and her and the cat, and it was like that's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, they had
That's
the last
so
year they had
easy.
the Oppenheimer one that had the countdown on it.
That was incredible.
Like
That was
that stuff was
fantastic.
cool. You brought up the Deadpool one earlier, and as kind of hokey as it was fun. Like you see it, the Skull Poop L one. I remember Skull Poop L was fucking everywhere. And it
Yeah.
was funny because you're like, what on earth is this for? I need to know what this is for. And there's none of that mystery anymore. I feel like everything is invested in trailers, because even I'm losing interest in trailers. Like I don't even watch trailers online anymore, except for like Alien Romulus trailer. I'm like, I need to watch that because I haven't seen anything about this movie. I want a teaser for that.
I also think, and I can't tell if this is because just of how involved we are in it now and like we like wanting to know and actively find this stuff out. But I remember going to a theater for the first time and seeing things like The Hobbit standee,
Hmm.
going like, oh shit. The first time I ever found out about Spider-Man 3 was that poster where it's the black suit and then like kind of taking over the red suit
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
all three at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I went home and I like drew pictures of like what I thought could possibly happen in the movie now. That mystery is perfect because that is the thing that entices people to go. When you give them everything about it early, nobody wants to go, nobody cares. It just becomes content.
Yeah. That's
And I
that's
think
what we're
that
facing, I think.
that helped Barbie and Oppenheimer a lot because not only were they facing off against each other, but nobody had clear cut anything for Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
We didn't know that it was presented in this way, all like the whole way. Like we heard snippets of things, but there wasn't a lot coming out. Barbie was kind of like we got the baseline of like, okay, she's gonna go into the real world, but like, how is it presented? What's everything that's gonna
The posters for that film didn't reveal anything.
no? And I feel like they're marketing it differently, where it's like, there's two ways. There's the either we overdo it to a point where it's oversaturated and people are kind of tired about hearing about it because they know everything about it, or the we'll run a couple of ads on TikTok, drop a poster online, and like whatever, you know what I mean? And that, sorry, I just accidentally opened my email trying to exit one out. Um, and I really miss that, and I miss the mystique, and I remember the last time that happened for me is that before the Venom trailer or poster came online, I went to visit my sister at college. We went to go see Eighth Grade Q&A with Bo Burnham, so I thought it was pretty cool. Uh, but I walked in and I was shocked because there's this giant banner of the eyes,
Yep.
and it said Venom, see the movie at the bottom. It said
Yeah.
Venom,
Venom's the movie.
Venom, see the movie. But that was the first time that I'd ever seen that. It wasn't leaked. It wasn't announced officially yet. We were still pretty far away from it releasing, so like I wasn't really thinking about it. And like the shock of just seeing that for the first time, and then I went home. I might have even been like trying to send it to you, like, oh, did
Yeah.
they drop it? Like, I want to share this with everybody. Be like, oh, the Venom poster's out. Like, the Venom poster's out. It was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
That was the one Sony W in terms of marketing that I got to see that early, and like that was
Yeah.
that. It's like here's a little like sneak and a teaser, and I think that they forget that people do go places. People do go out. People do have to drive on a highway, and they aren't always on their phones.
Yeah.
People do go to the movies, and if they see something that's enticing enough while they're walking past all the posters, I'm sure that they're going to care.
Yeah.
You need incentive also, not just in like a physical tangible gifts way, but incentive in a way where it's like, I'm too curious, I have to go see this.
Exactly. That
um
kind of, you mentioned that like mystique and the mysterium about it. I think people have this tendency now that they need to know everything and they need to know if it's good or bad before they make a decision, which I get it. It's a financial commitment to go see a movie, which we talked about last episode, but we've been kind of conditioned to believe that everything we have to see, like if we're going to go see a movie, it has to be the greatest thing we've ever seen. I saw someone post about Source Code, that 2009 movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. It is the perfect 90-minute movie. And that is a movie I wish I got to see in theaters. Sort of like Unstoppable with it's Denzel, right? Denzel
is
Chris Pine.
yeah,
Denzel Chris Pine. Another perfect 100-minute movie.
yeah.
The stakes are contained within the movie. There's no stakes outside of it. You are immersed. You get exactly what you want. It's a thrill ride. It's an adventure. We don't get that anymore. Actually, we do. We do have that, and people aren't seeing them.
You know what, we have that and it's dropped on streaming and forgot about in a week too.
Exactly. And that's what's fun, like Challengers, right? Challengers was a lightning in bottle moment, and that was a star vehicle because Zendaya really, and Mike Faced had his fans, but like Zendaya pushed that movie.
Yeah.
Luca has his fans as well, but like the hype around that movie was because of Zendaya and the marketing about like, oh, the threesome, right? Like it was fun because people were invested, but I didn't know what the movie was about. All I knew was that it had to do with tennis and it had to do with this love triangle. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to see Zendaya, I want to see Mike Faced, I want to see Josh O'Connor, and I think it looks cool, right? That was a vehicle that pushed itself and it
Yeah.
was marketed very well. They tapped into exactly what they needed to market, and it carried itself because word of mouth just shot that movie up, and it was all generations were interested in that movie.
Which is ironic because I don't think that they expected that because then that was dropped on streaming so fast. Which
Exactly.
not to just get directly back into last week's, but that was dropped on streaming so fast. I don't know if that was the one that they had faith in.
Probably not. And
Oh,
it's an
yeah.
April release, but it's back in theaters. There's a reissue at AMC and Regal and a bunch of other theaters that were able to get it. They pulled it from theaters based on its original plan, and then they reissued it, and people are still going to see Challengers. Like, it's a
I,
fun event that people know nothing about. They want to see it, and the veil gets unlifted, and they're like, "Holy shit, that was awesome!"
I think here's another thing too is that you need to give people the opportunity to go see these blockbusters in a this is such a dumb way to describe it, in a blockbusting way. You need like yeah, no. I knew that was coming. I was completely aware. I ran with it. But in a way where it's like Inside Out 2, I guess regardless of how it was going to do, is getting a designated 100-day theatrical
Yeah,
run before it touches any streaming platform, paid video on demand or subscription based. Do that for everything, give everything a shot, and you can cycle through content less quickly and you can make it more exciting to go to the movies.
yeah,
I loved the wait last year of how things that didn't seem to do good were on streaming faster, almost like they waited. And things that did well, it was a much longer wait. July to October for Dead Reckoning Part 1 was the perfect wait for me
yeah.
to rewatch that. Oddly enough, July to December, or maybe even July to January for Dial of Destiny, perfect wait. Because then by the time I did go to watch that on disc, I was like, was kind of hard on that. And this was fun, and I did enjoy myself. It's got flaws. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're kind of alienating the audience that did go see it because they're not going to want to pay for it again. And you're when you don't give people a chance to go experience it that way, and you're like, we'll put it in theaters for like a month, maybe less than a month, and then we'll run it concurrently in less theaters with the ability to watch it at home. You kind of kill yourself almost. You shoot yourself in the foot very quickly where you're like, because here's the thing with Furiosa. Um, I can't think of what movie it was. I think we talked about The Greatest Showman where nobody went to see it and then word of mouth to a point where eventually in February it was like still in the top 5 box office. Um, Furiosa could have it got pulled from 880 theaters this week. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes got pulled from I think around 700 more theaters. I got so scared that I went and I saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes immediately, and I immediately made plans to see Furiosa before any of my theaters lost it.
Yeah.
That's not a good marketing
No.
technique. The people that want to see it but will either not be able to or are still on the fence do not get the chance to then go and see it in theaters, which is probably more profitable for the companies in the first place, and then you don't have to you don't have to reissue anything.
Yeah.
If you give a smaller release window to something like Challengers, you don't have to reissue Challengers. You can still give it maybe like a June July disc date and streaming date, but keep it off streaming. Let it be a hit, or if it's a miss, let it be a miss.
Mhm.
Just lower the show times, take it out of theaters.
Well,
You
we didn't
know,
bring up Bad Boys. Like Bad Boys came out last week, at this point 2 weeks ago, and dear God, it just decimated everything. Like it had and I remember everyone was like, "Oh, is Will Smith gonna be enough?" And I'm like, people don't give a shit. The general public thought the slap was hilarious, and so they do not give a shit if they see Will Smith in the movie or not. But that being said,
it's
slap
fun.
aside. Yeah, it looked fun. They dropped that behind the scenes video, the camera rig, like before
Yeah,
it came out. And I remember some of my mutuals were like, wait a minute, this looks cool. I need to see this, right?
yeah,
And then people started realizing, wait, these are the guys who made Batgirl. Batgirl got
yeah,
canceled. I want to see this. And now these guys are potentially making Spider-Man. I want to see this. And so Bad Boys had a lot of carrying power. And I saw a
yeah,
lot of people really enjoying it. I saw Furiosa when I did, and I went with my family and I'm like, we have to see it on this day because Bad Boys comes out the following Friday and it's gonna knock it out of premium formats. Because I
yeah,
wanted to see Furiosa and RPX. I was in immediately correct. The
yeah.
showtimes came out for Bad Boys and it was all in the premium format. And if I wanted to see Furiosa in premium, I had to see it. I saw it like the Tuesday after it came out, and I was just like, it's such a bummer because I want some like flexibility. I'm not the type of person that has to see something opening day unless it was like No Way Home, like I wanted to do that. So
It's
Furiosa, I
basically
was like, I'll wait
yeah,
until, I'll wait till the crowds die down. Um, as if there were any crowds. But
that hurt, but it was also really funny.
so yeah, I want flexibility. I saw Challengers almost a month late because
Yeah.
like I'm busy. I can't see it on opening day. Sorry. But now I'm like freaking out. It's like if I don't see something opening week, am I not going to be able to see it?
The other thing that's scary is that financially there's some stuff that I have to wait even longer for. If I missed Fall Guy, I wasn't gonna pay $25 to watch it at home.
No.
Not a chance in hell. So it's like I wonder if they alienate another audience where it's like that's too expensive.
Well,
We're gonna wait even longer.
I thought about doing challengers. I was like, well, maybe I miss challengers in the theater, right? I'm like, maybe I miss it and I do the rental, but I could do like a watch party and I could have everyone chip in like $5 because I had friends who wanted to see it and they live nearby. So I'm like, yeah, we could do that. That could be fun. And then I'm like,
Put me on screen because that feels unprofessional. Keep talking, I'm listening.
um, I was just thinking like, what even is the point at that point? I'm just gonna wait till it comes out on disc. I'll buy it for 14.99 and then watch it whenever. Like at this point, the wind's out of my sails. I'm like, great. Like it just feels pointless.
I think something that's interesting too is that it didn't seem like that was their plan all year. I don't know if it was something that they just started to implement because I would say two movies that didn't do the great, they didn't do like bad, but they didn't do like anywhere near, I think, what the studios expected, but also just like what they kind of should have was Godzilla vs. Kong or Godzilla X Kong and Ghostbusters. It took a while for those to get to streaming even.
Yeah, well, Godzilla did really well.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it was the highest grossing until Inside Out.
Okay, so never mind that. Godzilla, but still, like that had its day, it had its moment, and then they were like, all right, well, last year we moved these things kind of fast, and we got more stuff coming out this year, so let's take that to streaming. And that was one where I missed in theaters, and I was like, oh, that's cool because I'll watch that in like a bit. And I remember thinking like, wow, they're taking a second to kind of drop that. And like same with Ghostbusters, like I was really interested to rewatch that and see like how I felt about that. And that was another one where it was kind of like still not that long. I think it came out in March and dropped digitally in May.
Yeah.
Just now getting a disc release later this month. But I think same day as Challengers actually. But that seemed normal. That seemed like what they were doing last year, unless it was a specific film. And then I think everything kind of was like, oh, like, well, shit, I guess good thing I saw Fall Guy within the first like 10 days it was out. Good thing I saw Challengers within the first like 15 days it was out. And I don't think you can get, I think it's a very horrible system because you can't really wind up with a Jaws. You can't really wind up with a Star Wars. There's no exclusivity to it. And I think that's also an initiative in and of itself to go and be like, hey, this movie everybody's talking about, this movie that we are marketing and you want to see, you can't unless you come here.
Yeah.
We'll have it. We guarantee you we'll have it, but you can't see it unless you come here.
No, and I think Top Gun was the perfect strategy, pushing it around Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Also, like you take for granted like graduation season as well, May, June, like kids get out of school, they're with their families. But then they go on vacation, right? A summer vacation. So they're not really going to the movies in June or July. Top Gun was perfect because it was that end of the May period that also it tided through Father's Day. So you could watch it over and over and over again with your family. Barbenheimer was that perfect sweet spot right in the middle of summer.
Yep.
That marketed itself. Barbie was going to make a billion no matter what. Oppenheimer was probably going to be a tougher sell, but the marketing of Barbenheimer and the TikTok trend and the I'm going to dress up, I'm going to double feature, it helped itself, and we're never getting something like that again. And I'm glad no studio is trying to recreate that. It just feels like the studios now don't know what to do because we've had 2 summers that have marketed themselves. So they kind of feel like, well, we don't need to rely on our own marketing strategy because the people want this stuff. They want to see Garfield.
Yeah.
Well, they want to see Deadpool and Wolverine because Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine, and they may see Ian McKellen as Magneto again. Like they're that's why people are pre-buying their tickets for Deadpool and Wolverine is they don't get it spoiled on Reddit a day later.
Same with Maxine, where people want to see it either as early as possible with early access, or they want to go, which nowhere near the levels of Deadpool and
Right.
Wolverine, but like, see it. They want
Yeah.
to see it. They want to see it as soon as possible. And I don't know. I don't know if the studio system will ever fix itself because I think the last time that we will get something, the last 2 times that we will get something blockbusting like that, will be Force Awakens, which literally stuck around until that spring, and then Top Gun Maverick, which got a long, correct initial release, and people wanted it back so bad it got another extended release for no reason. Well, not no reason, but you know what I mean. Like it wasn't Oscars, it wasn't because people were rediscovering it. It was quite literally just bring it back. Let's
Yeah.
put it back. Nothing's in IMAX right now. We can shove in a few showings, like put it back.
Yeah.
People will. And then the disc didn't come out till like that December. And I think I know at home, and I may be a little off on like the actual data that these studios have, but I truly believe that when you make an event, especially like I feel like the world really wants like a third place to go where like it's not your home, it's not a big night out, it's just a place. Um, and yeah, like it costs money, and like we talked about the expenses, but like I'm sure people would love a reason to go to the movies. I'm sure people would be fine sitting for that amount of time. It's also becoming very inclusive, so they have like the subtitles showings. Like Furiosa is not doing good at the box office, and they're pulling showtimes, and they still have the sensory showings for people with special needs or people with sensitivities. That's wild to me because I looked and nobody's in that showing, but they're still holding it. They're still doing it in case anybody wants to go see it. They're there. Go. Okay, we have a lot of gripes. How about we switch it off so to kind of end up, we can list some of our favorite blockbusters.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe not like experiences, but just like in general, like summer blockbusters, something like that. What do you think?
Well, I actually think we're heading in a good closing point. I kind of like where you were going with that.
Okay. I
I
just
think
want to make sure that we didn't.
what's yeah, because I we didn't get, and you can cut this part out, Kaylee. We didn't get to talk about the titles per se, but I think this idea of I like what you were saying about, wanting a place to go. And I think more kind of the idea of the summer blockbuster
Yeah.
is nice to reminisce on. And you brought up, we can cut back, Kaylee. So you bring up like Jurassic Park and Jaws and Star Wars, and those are like the definitive summer blockbusters, right? But you look back and you see a film, okay, so we have Twisters coming out this year, but you look at the original film, that was the epitome of like a summer blockbuster, right? You have a film like Speed. You have like all the Jan de Bont stuff was fun, and Point Break. Like those are the kind of films that no matter when they came out, they have a vibe to them. They have a blockbustery vibe. And I remember last year one thing that was special was remember those pictures like Chris McQuarrie and Tom Cruise holding up their movie tickets, and It was for Mission Impossible, Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Indiana Jones. And I remember their whole push was what a great time to go to the movies.
Yeah.
People went to the movies last summer, and I remember even National Cinema Day was a big push. Um,
Well, Cinema Day was just a big day in general. I was very
yeah,
nothing major was really out because
no,
I remember I think the only thing that I had an interest in seeing was maybe Insidious: The Red Door, and I ended up having to do something else. I was like, oh, I'm
mm,
not gonna make it. It's still, I remember, didn't it make like record amounts of money for every theater chain?
yeah, because it was
Good.
one of Blumhouse's better performing ones, considering just how small the budget was. And I was very proud of them for not putting that straight to streaming. That could have been a straight to disc or streaming film and had a good theatrical run. And I think it was that. There was Gran Turismo, Ninja Turtles, and Mission Impossible was still out.
I
And
take it with Gran Turismo and how they marketed that though, because they wanted us to market that film for them.
mhm,
Fuck that. That was the
that was the
reading
dumbest campaign.
that is still the quote that upsets me the most. I can feel like
From
a fire
gamer to racer,
franchise,
yeah.
like a gamer to racer, and the executive coming out being like, "We want people to do it for us, basically, and promote how good the movie is and let it speak for itself, and then let them speak, so we don't have to pay our actors and writers."
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough summer. I will say that that period with the strike and everything. I did see Gran Turismo on Cinema Day. I did like Gran Turismo. A lot of fun. But yeah, I like tweeted about it. And then they wrote me and they were like, "We'd like to use your tweet to promote the film."
That's really
And I was like, "Oh
that's
no."
the definition of what I just said, but at the same time, that's
No,
cool because
literally, like they were like, "Can we use your tweet?" And they would do that. They would just use random user tweets to promote the film. And I will say, it was a great movie. It did what it needed to, but the marketing was just atrocious. Like it was just like, I mean, the whole, yeah, the from gamer to racer thing was a meme, but it was so stupid. Yeah, that was just
and Ninja Turtles got very lucky because they filmed the release date was pushed, so they filmed all their stuff earlier,
yeah.
and
And
so
then
they
the video of the Gumball voice actor. Have you seen the one when he's like, oh, if we all go on strike, that means I can't promote the silly little movie. And I just want to share these like true Leonardo facts. And then it like cut to the next slide and it was like Nardo hates pigs and it was like he's like killing a police officer.
I love that.
It was
I
perfect.
also I don't think we have that. I think I don't know. I also think it might just be the state of the world because I know we got very depressed that one episode and talked about it.
Mhm.
But I've had a lot of conversations with friends that usually they'd be like lighthearted and fun or maybe even about movies, and they're just like, this is the worst year of my life so far. Personally and like socially and like just looking at the world, like it's not a good year.
Yeah.
And so I wonder too, maybe if just like this is gonna get so fucking deep for no reason, and we could drop it here. But maybe the state of society is kind of like making it harder to have that escapism and that enjoyment
No,
because
definitely.
uh, which I feel like happened a lot during the pandemic. So it was like, yeah, that's cool that these are coming out, but we're kind of more nervous about this virus that's plaguing humanity.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like, no, we're not going to go see the New Mutants, and no, we're not going to stream it on Hulu. Like, we're really sorry, but we have
Yeah.
other things to think about and do right now.
I brought up the New Mutants the other day because it literally just crossed my mind and I was like, God, remember when they made when that movie like was announced in 2018 and then it didn't get made and it got canceled and then it got picked up again and then COVID happened and then they said, "Oh, they're gonna put it on Disney Plus." And they didn't put it on Disney Plus. They put it in movie theaters where no one was allowed to see it.
I remember the day that it came out on disc, Best Buy had for sale for $15 because I don't think the studio thought anybody was going to buy it.
Anya Taylor-Joy was in that movie. Maisie Williams was in that movie. The dude from Stranger Things was in that movie. Like that had all the perfect ingredients. X-Men horror movie,
Yeah.
immediate sell, like perfect in 2018. That would have been awesome.
I also think that they did a bad. It was a horrible idea to try to release that. Was it the same year as New Mutant or Dark Phoenix?
No, no, no. They released it in 2020. It was before Tenet.
Oh no! Oh yeah, because I remember there was Those are like the only two things playing.
Yeah, I went and saw the New Mutants actually, and that was not fun.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But no, I think the idea of a blockbuster really is something special to our industry, and it's something special to the movie going experience. And as funny as what you said was, I understand what you're saying with the that something needs to have that effect. You know, the idea of like lines out the door around the corner. Like we're obviously never gonna have that experience again, but
I will say it's not impossible
it's not.
because
It's definitely not impossible.
we've also had years like this. Like 2016 arguably was like a really weak year at the box office. Star Trek Beyond came out, bombed. Popstar came out, bombed. These are all things that I think they thought people would adore and be stoked to go see. Um, and then immediately after that, 2017, Baby Driver, an independent film from a niche director at the time, so popular, or word of mouth, or like excitement for the first trailer was so overwhelming that they moved it up by 2 months.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that sucks is that it's kind of scary to think like, oh, it could just be an inconsistent year this year, or we should have really appreciated last year more. You
Yeah.
know,
I think we really needed to take the right message from last year, which was, hey, we shouldn't promote the movies for the studios, but we should be asking we should say, hey, we want more of this. Not the event, but I mean the movies. Like we want more of these special type movies that mean something to us, which I feel like they're trying to do, like Warner pushing Furiosa the way they
yeah.
did. Kind of feels like them trying, like, hey, you guys came out for Fury Road, maybe you want to come out for Furiosa, but it's like they're they're hurting themselves with the models they're presenting, which is that straight to streaming 2 weeks after. We talked about this last episode, but the idea of a blockbuster really can only exist with that theatrical mindset. And I
There
think
needs
that,
there
yeah,
needs to be a block.
exactly. There needs
There,
to be a
there needs to be a
blockbuster
place
bus.
to go. Yeah, there needs to be a block to bust. There needs to be a place to go. Where it's overwhelming. And I think we got that for Dune, which was beautiful. And I this is a bit of an off-topic story, but something I loved is that we had a horrible severe weather alert the night that I went to go see Oppenheimer the second time. When I say like trees were uprooted and like the streets were flooded, my sister still wanted to see it so bad that she drove us through that. We got there, every single seat was full, and somebody was at the service desk complaining because the system accidentally double booked the showing.
Wow.
We then drove back and had to stop on the side of the highway because of how bad it was and then get back on the road. And when I asked my sister, like, I apologize, I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't realize like it would be that bad when we were gonna go out. I'd have gotten different times, different tickets. She's like, worth it. It was so worth it. That's not gonna happen again for anything.
No. I drove 6 hours to see Mission Impossible. Like
Yeah.
I
Like
know people that drove across the country to see Oppenheimer.
we're not gonna it, and kind of the same thing for like because like even this winter there was like stuff where it was like me and my friend were very excited to see it. We got hit with a snowstorm. We were like, well, we don't want to die for like the Book of Clarence. We're not gonna die to go laugh at Madam Web. Like we'll just stay in. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And then ironically, like in no time at all, boom, there they were.
Yeah.
And we watched them and they were nothing and kind of skipped. But like that's more like the quality of the film. But I also guess it's just in general like there was not enough options, and that made it not worth it.
Yeah. But
Whereas
you know,
like
everyone's gonna be seeing Craven over and over and over again.
during the holidays, they're so oh my god, they're dumb.
I feel like there's one persona that can save the box office this summer though.
Who?
Our favorite creature, Paddington.
Pat Paddington. But he's not a creature. He's a little guy.
He's a creature. He's a
Creature.
an animal.
You know what's ironic is that I agree with that statement, but we don't get it this year. We get that because we're not British.
My feeling when British people, no offense to our British listeners, but all offense.
We have one.
That's right, we do have one. Hello.
One. Very good for
Enjoy Paddington, ungrateful. I
um
would enjoy Paddington more if it were concurrent release, but they recast Sally Hawkins too, which is weird.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I think there was a scheduling conflict, and it's also like it is just a kids movie. Like,
It's not just a kids movie, it's Paddington.
you know what
Yeah.
I will say that was quite interesting. Well, no, it's true. It's not just a kids movie; it's a healing movie for every age. Um, what's really interesting is that, like this year we don't have a lot of those where it's like adults and kids can go see them.
Mhm.
Like Super Mario Brothers, like everybody wanted to go see that. Across the Spider-Verse, everybody was down to see that. Mutant Mayhem, everybody was down to see that. Uh, and maybe it's just the IP. Like I guess like not a lot of adults are down to go check out Garfield, especially when it looks that aimed towards kids. Or Imaginary Friends, the If movie. Not a lot of. That's definitely more of a family movie.
So if you're an adult and seeing Garfield on your own, that's slightly concerning.
Except for anybody that goes see Garfield in theaters, get fucked, kick rocks. We don't want you
Yeah,
here.
we don't want you here. And if you're under 14 and you're seeing Garfield in theaters alone,
If you, if you can go to the theater by yourself to see Garfield,
if you can drive, buy a ticket, if you can financially support yourself and go see Garfield,
if you could take yourself to have a meal at Olive Garden and eat the Garfield special, and then take a trip to the theater.
all I can think of is the one Curb Your Enthusiasm, or not Curb, the one I think you should leave bit with the Garfield house.
Oh, this is Jim Henson's house.
Jim
Yeah,
Hen-
but
Jim Henson.
is there insert a picture from that? Because I also think we should use this pod for good, and I know that it's a pretty big show, but if anybody has not seen, I think you should leave. I think this is a good time to because I did it end.
Hmm?
Did it end? Because we should have gotten to season 4 by now if it was gonna.
I think he's working on a new season.
Okay, because yeah, season 3 last year was pretty big too.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, it's a little bleak looking forward in this summer, but there's some hope. There are some good titles.
Arguably a weird time to start a podcast about film because film's kind of in disarray.
True. Gives us a lot to
I
talk about though.
enjoy it and love it, but it is kind of interesting that every week we're like excitement, and then we're like we're kind of fucked, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
not in
this
the
is
best position. Yeah,
shucks.
shoot.
But yeah,
Oh,
hopefully what
I would like to bring something up real quick. TV is doing pretty good this year, and I highly recommend that everybody check out House of the Dragon if you
really
haven't. That's exceptional. I've never finished Game of Thrones. I've barely started Game of Thrones. I love it. It's like it's almost like a cinematic experience at home. This is not an ad. I was not paid. Nobody's forcing me to say this, but I'm almost done with it. Like I will rot and I will watch it, and it is fantastic. I think it's immaculate.
I would say the same about Shogun. I'm close to finishing Shogun. Um Also started The Queen's Gambit finally, and The Boys season 4 came out, so I gotta watch that.
Yeah. So the other thing too is I guess there is that nice little trade-off.
Mm.
I think we've got some good Bear season 3 end of the month.
Yes.
Uh,
And
but-
Arcane season 2.
yep. So we even the Acolyte's not that bad, honestly. If anybody still has Disney Plus, a Star Wars show is not bad.
I'm afraid I don't want to dip into Acolyte listeners. We're gonna get literal in our comments. I haven't watched The Acolyte, and I probably will, but like, good gravy, Star Wars fans are something else.
Yeah, they dropped it to 19%.
They were review bombing the wrong thing though. They review bombed a movie from 2008 called Acolytes. That goes to show how bright they are.
Another reason that movies are probably failing is because they're not just about straight white men doing straight white men stuff. And like we talked about last week, if they can't see themselves doing it, then they don't want to experience it because they have no power for creativity. Or
Is woke. That's the thing. It's Hollywood. It's woke. It's ruining everything.
my favorite thing is when people are like, "Oh, get woke, go broke," and it's like, no,
It's like, man,
make a shitty movie and don't market it, go broke.
exactly. Like,
That's
I feel like Horizon is the most straight white man movie, and it's gonna bomb.
yeah.
I want to see the anti woke crowd find a reason for why it bombs.
I'm just waiting for one scene where Kevin Costner's like Native American, and they're like, "Oh, this is so woke. No wonder no one's going to see it."
Yeah, yeah, they're like gonna edit together something he says or does, and they're gonna be like, "See, this is why Kevin succumbed." I'm gonna be
They're
like, "Yeah,
trying to brainwash your kids to not thinking that we owe Native Americans every inch of this country back after we stole it. Um,
I'm very interested to see what the political angle of Horizon's gonna be."
I am too, and if there's even going to be one, to be honest, I wonder if it's just going to be like a. He is also kind of a Western icon, but I also think he
Yeah,
thinks it's Eastwood, which is sorry, Kevin, you're not.
it might be like we might be going back to John Ford days. Like
Uh,
that would be rough.
we need to do an episode on movies and stars that are overrated because I don't know if I ever told you this, but I fucking hate John Ford with
Dude,
or no,
John Ford.
John Wade, not John Ford. My
I
God,
was like, dude, John Ford was
I
like,
am so sorry. I'm so sorry, John Ford. John Wayne.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
every time I think of westerns, it's so funny to me because I really like that genre. But I will go see Garfield by myself after having a nice Garfield meal at Olive Garden before I ever watch another John Wayne movie or ever give him any sort of credibility for being anything.
that is completely valid.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know my overrated artist. It's gonna get me crucified.
I do.
I feel like you do. I feel like I've told you this. It's the Beatles.
Oh no, that doesn't get you crucified. A lot of that's popular.
I enjoy. I mean, I enjoy the Beatles. I think their historical significance is not to be put down in any way whatsoever. They're one of the most influential bands, groups, artists of all time. But I just don't like their music.
I think that's fair. I think the thing that I hate is when people online are like, they suck, they're so bland. It's like, well, that's fair, but at least like say like they invented a lot of this shit
Yeah.
and they're not great people
No.
though. They're horrendous people.
I think a lot of artists at the same time, especially like the California Valley sound, like especially I've always loved the Beach Boys more than the Beatles, right? Like I think there are certain things that were done here that were capitalizing on a lot of the Beatles' ideas, especially musically and performatively, that just did it better. Because I feel like the Beatles established something so influential and popular, and then they never capitalized on it properly, besides the fact that they got super famous, and then they just got really weird, and a lot of their later music just, ugh,
I'm also not positive if they ever felt like they had to be honest with you.
yeah,
Because when you created something or you like introduce something like that, you can kind of just like fuck off if you really want to.
wow, just like movie studios,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
creates
They
a
created it.
whole
They really,
circle. We're so smart.
I just like I was thinking about something too, like Monkey Man and the idea that like this might get me crucified, but I thought that was an okay movie with an amazing will to be made.
Hmm.
But the entire time I was watching it, I was like, John Wick's kind of had like a really detrimental effect on action movies.
Yeah, definitely.
We see from that. Well, I was gonna say something, I completely forgot what it was.
I think
Um,
a movie that deserved more love, and I hope it gets more now that it's finally out on streaming and Blu-ray is Love Lies Bleeding.
I just watched that. I love that so much.
You
That
did?
was so weird. I know people don't like it, but I that was incredible and I loved it.
I'm excited to rewatch it, and that was one that had a pretty fair window between theatrical and streaming. It was March it came out, and it's
I was
finally
wait. I
streaming.
had to miss that one in theaters because nobody was playing it after a bit, and I had to wait a bit for that.
It was a very limited release, sort of like I saw In a Violent Nature, which that was another one, very limited, 1,000 theaters.
Yeah.
Really glad I got to see it. Cool, awesome movie. It was a lot of fun. You could tell how low budget it was, but it was just yeah, very fun, very violent.
Yeah. Exactly what it's called in a violent nature. That's what you're hoping for when you go to see it. I
Yeah,
think the other thing too is that like that would have been great if that got like maybe a terrify like a not as big but like a terrifier kind of word of mouth thing. But nobody was gonna go to theaters to see it unless they knew about it.
I think I'm part of me just thinks it's glad it got any theatrical release. A movie of that low budget, because I they never released the budget. I want to say it was 100, 150,000. Like that was a tiny ass budget.
I just thought of something. Part of the box office problem has to be the fact that anything that we were excited for and waiting for ended up being shitty.
Yeah.
Biggest example, Late Night with the Devil, something that we were all stoked for, we all could not wait for. Week before release, comes out that they use AI extensively in that film. And not only that, um, reviews for people that actually like audience reviews, like sans the AI, not shitty, but not incredible.
Mm.
And eventually, I remember it was a big deal. Me and my friend like cleared our schedules, canceled some stuff to go see it, uh, with free tickets. I want to add, I don't support that, but with free tickets, and we just kind of walked out and we didn't see anything else again until I think we went to go see Spider-Man because we were just like, that's
Yeah.
it's kind of a bummer. Like if it was mixed in between like some other good movies, sure, but like
Same thing with Immaculate. Like I was so excited for that, saw that, and I was like, damn, that kind of
bum me
sucked.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at my list of movies I've seen this year, and I have not seen a lot of new movies.
I feel like there's been a few like that, so let me see if there's any more possibly.
So if I look at my diary, I watched In Violent Nature, Furiosa,
Oh,
Jump
you know
Force.
what? Kung Fu Panda 4 too. I feel like that was something that people were stoked for. We didn't expect that to come. It came, and nobody. It just
I didn't watch it.
it didn't live up to what it should have been whatsoever.
I
Same with Fall
did
Guy. I
the
know
director.
people were excited, but it wasn't Bullet Train, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Which I don't blame people for being upset about that whatsoever.
Yeah, I really haven't seen many new releases this year.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, there was definitely something about how things came out and how things we were excited for kind of like fell off and fell out more than anybody could have expected. That I
Yeah.
think I completely missed it this entire episode, but that's something that I've been thinking about. Um, Even down to like the beekeeper, like the action crowd didn't necessarily show up for the beekeeper the way that they do sometimes for movies like those.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's epitome of a January movie.
yeah, I love that. The people I watched it with, we were sitting on a couch, and the only thing that we were doing the entire time was like sitting and talking about how we were waiting for like the beast to just come like lift up Jason
Mhm.
Statham.
Yeah.
Like he was like it was superpowers. It wasn't that he was just a beekeeper. Like he could control the bees and stuff
It
like that.
kept like making bee puns, and then he would make a bee pun, and I'd be like,
He was a bee. I shit you not. There's a version of that ending where he was a bee the whole time, and they cut it because they did not think audiences would like it.
I love that movie. That was a lot of fun. Again, that would have been a cool summer movie.
It would have been a perfect like, all right, what's in between? Uh, what's in between? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes uh and Furiosa. Oh, this really shitty movie about Jason Statham being a beekeeper and taking down credit card scammers and kind of going way too hard to like
Yeah.
these people. That's a 90-minute one that would have been great to see in theaters.
Perfect.
Um,
I don't know. We'll see. We will report back, especially with Maxine.
yeah. We also did. I feel I don't want to run this any further than necessary because we've been on the phone. We've been recording for a bit. But another thing is we got a lot of special stuff last year, like
Did
a studio comedy coming out, especially a female-led studio comedy with Jennifer Lawrence and No Hard Feelings. That was kind of a shock and very special to get such a big theatrical release. Um, 3D coming back with Avatar that December before. Um,
when was
so
it?
yeah,
You was that last year?
that was 2022. Avatar 2 was December
No, no,
2020.
anyone but you, not average.
Oh no, Anyone But You was last year, but it
Yeah,
was
Sydney Sweeney.
December. I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Um, they kind of just like they really leaned into theaters last year, and I don't know what's happening this year because like this year should be based off of what happened last year, and it doesn't seem like it is for some reason.
No,
So
I feel like it's very haphazard, and like a lot of our biggest stuff is actually yet to come.
it feels like, do you ever get anxious socially? So like you like pick and choose when you're gonna say something to see how the person reacts to it. That feels like this year.
Yeah. It's
So,
like, hey guys, um, you remember the Joker? He's coming back.
what if we put Lady Gaga in it? Yeah, no, I think that's stupid too. I was
Wait
just
a
it was
minute, hold on. Are we gonna get another Venom situation? Because
what do you,
Venom 2018 was review bombed by the Lady Gaga fans who wanted everyone to see A Star is Born instead. So now this year it's coming out against Venom 3. It's gonna happen again. The Lady Gaga stands.
I also think the Lady Gaga stands aren't going to stand Joker.
True, actually, yeah.
Ironically, I think her fan base is the opposite of the Joker fan base.
That's gonna be a crazy ass theatrical experience. You have the Reddit
Um,
dungeon dwellers and the Lady Gaga stands.
fans of Chromatica Ball and then fans of Andrew Tate. That was such a dated reference actually. I don't interact enough with those people to know what the modern kind of
Guy who hate watches The Acolyte and Chromatica Ball. Yeah, but
I'm
yep,
glad to go to theaters.
we're yapping at this point. Go see a movie this summer. Pick and choose. Go see
Go
Deadpool
see
for all
go
I
see a movie this week. I feel like there's enough of them out at this
go
point.
see
Pick one.
Horizon out today.
You definitely recommend that one. I don't you go see a
And
movie.
drink
See
the
any movie that you
Horizon
want to.
blend from Green Mountain.
Yeah, sneak in a thermos of the Horizon blend and it might make it better.
It probably will be the only way you make it through that 3 hours showing. Wait, that's why they did coffee. So that people drink the coffee and
Wait,
stay awake.
I
That's smart.
Horizon. I still haven't, I don't think, seen a full trailer for Horizon.
Go in blind.
Going blind. Let's see if I go in.
This will be the only thing I say about Sound of Freedom. It'll be like Sound of Freedom where I will buy your ticket to see Horizon. It'll be a pay it forward situation, you know?
Yeah, and then if I like it, I'll find someone else.
Hmm.
If I like, let's start a Horizon and American Saga chain where Venmo's just filled with people, and we get them to make a Kevin Costner emoji. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for legal reasons, I am not comparing Horizon to Sound of Freedom in any way whatsoever, in any capacity.
For legal reasons, we're not acknowledging that Sound of Freedom exists.
True.
There is no. What is that? Good joke. We've never heard of that
There's
before.
another one coming out this year, Sound of Hope.
Oh, wait, this year?
Yeah, Angel Studios has another one. Anyways, yeah, my endorsement is Horizon. Go see Horizon. What's your endorsement?
My endorsement, honestly, Bad Boys for Life. Is it for life or is it Ride or Die?
Ride or Die.
Ride or Die. Bad Boys Ride or Die. I haven't seen Inside Out 2 yet, so I don't know if I could recommend it. I'm sure I could, but Bad Boys Ride or Die was like so much fun and like it was the epitome of what you should go see in the summer.
Hmm.
And I think everybody should go check it out. It's not a bad time. It's enjoyable. I don't even think you need to watch the first three. Just go get popcorn, laugh and shit, and well, don't laugh, but don't, yeah. I don't know. It's good. Go enjoy it. It's fun. Don't think about the fact that Will Smith just openly slapped and assaulted a man on stage during an award ceremony and now is not allowed back for 10 years because he's got charisma.
And
So
as you said earlier, we shall bust the block.
yeah, we'll bust all the blocks. Within a 10-mile radius of AMC, we're busting blocks.